or any other organizations that you represent that you like to talk about?
Well, um, I'm on a couple of boards. I'm on the Wake County Community Foundation board. We're a nonprofit. What we do is we give funds to other nonprofits. So I like doing stuff like that. I'm on the board for a charter school, paid charter school, where uh, our students are all either children of color or children who are English as a second language, and it's just elementary school students. And I like that because a lot of the charter schools are different. Um, but this is not. We send a bus out to pick our kids up, and we go to the community to get the students to come to the school. Some of the other areas that I supported, the Links, 100 Black Men, the Gant Center in Charlotte, the Harvest Center in Charlotte. So, I'm a philanthropist at heart, so I try to help everybody I can when I can. And they're right, Mr. Dr. Kelly.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. Now you can definitely say that because you do help me out all the time. And I'm not disclosing that. I probably could disclose that. We've been working together for so long.
I
You
know.
you call me up for work, and no matter what I'm doing. As a matter of fact, you were with the Black Business Expo when we first started,
Yes, right.
and so we've gone from. Wait a minute, that makes both of us old, but
No,
we've
we're
gone.
not. No, you just started last year. But I'm going to tell you how I met Eric Kelly. Eric, you remember that? He came to my house because my husband did the videos for the Black Expo, and I did the voice. One big expo.
Yes, I remember that one. That that was a good selling tool though. One of the good selling tool though. One big
It
expo.
was.
Yes, indeed. That's been a long time ago. I
Very long
think
time.
I think that may have been the third one we were doing because it was the
It,
one with the hands and the globe in the hands, and it had
it,
one big expo on it. It was in black and white. It wasn't in color. It was not even in color.
I know.
And in those days we got black and white out, we was doing good, especially with some images on it.
Oh, I know.
So as you look at the telephone and the smartphone and how kids are able to utilize the telephone to do so much business, have you pivoted to doing business online by networking with people and talking to people?
Do you mean like now or what? I don't.
I'm just talking about in general, since we're talking about the old days and how we used to print things out, how we used to do faxing and all those things, and now we're to a new technology age. Do you do any things different?
Oh, everything's totally different. So, for instance, one of the reasons I hardly ever drive anybody in my car is that when I send somebody a house, they have a video, they have a picture of the interior of the house and everything. And so we usually just meet at the house. It's not like you have to sit at a computer and look at me. People go to realtor.com or to my website, they pull up all the houses that are for sale in North Carolina and South Carolina and look at them. And then our contracts are done. We don't write those with ink anymore. We do everything on DocuSign, which people can sign on their phone. I mean, I've negotiated contracts. I can be on the golf course, go to the airport, and still negotiate a contract on my phone.
Oh,
So
go
it's
ahead
really
on.
different. And then especially with the younger people that I always ask that's the best way. What way do you want to communicate with me? Because some people just like to text, some people like to email. I have people that contact me on Facebook. It's just whatever.
Well,
No more
that's
phone. And
yeah,
I
that's
don't
got
have a fax machine.
that's got to be different. I see we got a message down here. It says, "How important is real estate photographer? Uh, do you in terms of being a part of your real estate team? How
Okay,
important
yes,
is a real estate photographer?"
okay, I do use a real estate photographer to take interior and exterior pictures. I had them do drone videos, I make the video there. So very important. It's pretty cool because it's what I just said. Most people look up, they know exactly what a house looks like before they get there now.
And so that is definitely something that helps on the sales end, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I got tons of questions, and I wanted to make sure that we at least covered what the young people need to do when they're coming into the business. The seasoned veteran generally knows what's going on. So when you look at these young agencies, and I'm sure there are a lot out there, what do you see to be some of their mistakes as a young agency?
Okay. Here's the one thing, is that younger people want it now. They want it done now, and real estate does not work like that. It's a very big decision for the home buyer or the home seller, and a lot of emotions are involved. And so people don't want to just, you short and say, do it now, make a decision now. Life doesn't work like that. That's thing number one. Thing number two, you work with a real estate agent like me that's seasoned, you need to listen to us when we actually know what we're talking about. And then number two, what you'll find is when I had an agent call me over the weekend, she saw a house, showed a house in Durham, and she called me. She said, "If you write a contract now, Michelle, I'll have my person. We won't wait until Monday and take a bunch of contracts because I know if you have somebody, they'll be able to ready, willing, able to buy, and they will buy because I trust you." And so what other agents need to understand is not a time to demonize another real estate agent and burn a bridge when you first start real estate, because if it's been a long time, you're gonna need relationships like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like I had another young guy involved who wrote up my list, and he made, I guess it was a compliment. It was really nice. He was a little bit worried about his inspection, and I was driving. I went to it. I said, "That's gonna be okay." He said, "I've always wanted to do a transaction with you. I've been watching you, so it's okay."
Now we got another question. What's your thoughts on gentrification, in terms of buying back the block and other thoughts like that? The whole gentrification deal.
Okay. Gentrification is cool, right? Okay, so part of it is economics. So if anybody getting displaced and being moved, a lot of people want to equate gentrification with moving Black people out of one area to another. It's not always true. It's economics. A lot of it might be a smaller place depending on where it is, but everybody's moving because of economics. And yeah, you should buy the block back if at all possible. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I have clients. Let me just take Durham as an example. I can have somebody who can buy the $300,000 house that's right there. There's three of them near Central. If anybody wants to know, let me know. In North Carolina Central, and it's gentrified, yes and no, but there's no reason why a person of color can't stay in that home. So if like I said, you look at it one of two ways. Some people just want to equate it to moving a color out, but it's economics because it doesn't mean. Because I've had places, let's say, that have been gentrified, but the person that I bring back, the person of color. So somebody has to want to live in that community. But please, buy any block you can is very important. And
Well,
stay.
now, what are your takes on flipping houses? People who buy houses and they flip them. Do you do a lot of that kind of stuff? What do
I
you
do it occasionally. I personally flip maybe one or two homes a year. What has happened in the Durham area, though, is what I call the wholesale price, the price that you buy it for in the first place before you fix it up, is just going up so high. It's just ridiculous. Because everybody's doing it, and there's a lot of money floating around the area. So, like 2 years ago, you might have gotten a house for say $80,000. It's ridiculous. That house is $150,000 now, and you still got to put $50,000 into it. So those have made a game changer. What I suggest to people is, if you don't mind, go to the outlying areas if you really got some money to work with, especially long term or not. I'll give you, and you need to call me and say you don't talk to me, but I'll give you two examples. So people forget about the rural areas. You still might could buy a house for $30,000 and not put 10 in it, sell it for 100. You're gonna still make a lot of money. And there's programs there through USDA for the first time home buyer to buy that program. I mean, to buy that. Okay, so don't get stuck on just buying a house in your backyard. You gotta open up your horizons. I have people buying houses in Greensboro. I'm taking somebody to flip tomorrow. So just change the way that you look at things, because otherwise you're fighting. Everybody's fighting for that same property.
If you were going to do a commercial about Keaton Borough Realty and you had about, I would say about, let's say 5 minutes to do that commercial, what would you say?
Good Lord, I'm not going to talk 5 minutes. That's a very long commercial. And everybody's attention span is 2 minutes, Eric.
So what would you?
But I would just make sure that I would come across in that commercial, ending up with everybody trusting me and believing to know that I know what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do what I say.
So it's very important for your integrity to be first and foremost in terms of buying and selling houses. As you said, trust was very important.
Very, it's utmost important.
So what where do we go from here, Michelle? You're gonna get new agents. You're still in Raleigh. You're gonna expand. Where do you plan on going from here? What is your I would say your plans?
Well, I mean, that's it. Continue to grow in Raleigh, to continue to grow my office in Charlotte. I am licensed, and one of my other agencies is licensed in South Carolina, so that's something I may consider. And like I said, to grow my relocation network of people moving into the area.
Well, it sounds like you got a lot of things on your plate. You know, as we continue to talk to business owners from across the world and the plethora of business owners who have been on, I must say this is the only one we've done with the interview segment. I've enjoyed it. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Is there anything that you like to say to people out there that will leave an impact on their lives as they're buying and selling homes?
Remember that real estate should always be part of your legacy, part of your investment portfolio. And my family is a wonderful example. We have always owned our real estate. Both grandparents on both sides. We've never rented. No, none of our family. So it was very, very temporary. But that's the way you can create an inheritance for your family for generations to come. And that's what some others do. And so do it appropriately. And or if you pull your money out, just don't pull it out and spend it. Do something else with it. Buy some additional real estate, invest in the stock markets, blah, blah, blah. Create a legacy. That's what we are. Keith is your legacy creator.
Well, and you know, I forgot to ask you, you know, and I want you to break it down a little slower because sometimes people can't understand what that legacy creator tagline that you have. What does that mean?
We're helping you create a legacy for your family so that there's potential for your children, your grandchildren, your great grandchildren to have pass that on. I think I put that a little bit. Did you hear that?
No, we didn't hear anything you said that time.
Well, okay, I didn't see. Okay, so we hear it. So I forgot what I said. Oh, but I've had some clients that have sold them their personal homes, their commercial property, rental property, and as much as I've got gray hair, I'm supposed to sell houses to the children of some of the people that I was supposed to. So I love it. I'm helping people create generational wealth. Very important.
Okay, so as we look at as we talked about COVID-19, we talked about your future. We really didn't want to talk about your past because this is a show going forward. What are some of the tools that you're using now to help you sell homes?
Social media, but I've also gone old school and I'll do a lot of mailings to people. That's it. And the phone. I call people, text people, hey, how you doing? And they appreciate it. So basically, the same thing I've always been doing.
Okay, that is awesome. Any statements you like to leave us with before we get out of here? We got about 20 minutes.
20 minutes? You told me this is going to be 40 minutes here. We do not have 20 more minutes.
You know what? This is live.
I know this is live. That's why I'm letting everybody know what you told me.
What are you trying to say?
That for 40 minutes.
If you're done your 40 minutes, what we can do is get you to answer the last question.
Okay, what's the last question?
That took 5 minutes.
I forgot. What was that?
My question was,
okay.
We've talked about what's going on with real estate. We've talked about where where your future is, and I said, is there anything that you like to say to people who may look at you as a relevant or a real estate agent to do business with? What would you like to leave them with?
You can trust me, and I know what I'm talking about. Plain and simple. I do real estate once a week. Mm-hmm. I have other agents. I tell them if you can't find your broker, business owners call me. I don't want you to make a mistake.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that we asked you that question because a lot of times when we're talking to people, we don't ask that question.
Okay.
And as we get ready to get out of here, looks like I got a couple of messages. People are still calling, and even though I know this is live and all that good stuff, um, we're gonna play a video. We're gonna play a video of my artwork, and we're gonna let that be our next 15 minutes, and then we'll look forward to seeing you later on. And thank you so very much for being on the show. I truly have enjoyed every minute of it, and I look forward to the great things that you continually do.
I'm looking forward to seeing what you do too, Kelly.
thanks, thanks a lot. You know, it's always great when we get a chance to talk to Michelle Keaton-Barrow of Keaton-Barrow Realty, an outstanding agency that does great work not only in Durham, Raleigh, but also in Charlotte. And she's going to be expanding into a neighborhood near you. If you need somebody in real estate, you got to remember what she said that was critical and key. She said that she knows what she's doing, and you can trust her. And I believe that that's all that really matters when you're dealing with people is finding somebody you can trust, but more importantly, finding somebody that knows what they're doing. Thank you again. Any last statements?
No, my pleasure.
Thank you so very much. And Mark, you can bring me on full screen as we continue to talk to businesses from across the country, from across the nation. And I'm sure we have our next one ready to go. And if in fact, if Dr. Dennis is available, I'd like to bring him up to say a few words for the last 15 minutes. And of course, as we keep going on. All right, Mary Williams Stover. You know I want to talk to you, Mary Williams Stover. You, girl, you are a trailblazer. You are a trailblazer. You know what I'm trying to say, right? But I'm going to say you are a trailblazer. And for those who don't know, you know, when you're scheduling people, you need to do what you say you're going to do because people will call you on it. And when you have a team of people working with you and things be going wrong and you're just holding on to what you call a little bit of rope, no, a piece of thread. You held at that thread, just said, oh, please, can I hold on to this thread? And then when you hold on to that thread and the wind running hard, kind of this is an inside joke, people. You know, I like to make people laugh. I like people to be happy when they come on board. But I do want to say, it was my mistake. It was my mistake. But the most important thing is we got you here at the time that you are available. You know, sometimes when people are doing things and they don't get it done, that's the part we don't want to do. We want to get it done. And I text you and I said, I'll make it happen. And then I made it happen at the wrong time again. But then you came back and you said, hey, Eric, make it work. And I'm making it work. So how you know you're muted, right? You know you're muted. You got to unmute. Mary? There
Okay.
You go. There you go. How you doing today? You was laughing. We didn't hear it. I know you was laughing hard.
Oh, that's funny.
So, before we get started, how was your day today?
Oh, it's good. I had a great day. And I have an echo happening. Are you hearing an echo?
I'm hearing a little bit of echo, but when I disappear off of this, you won't hear the echo at all. I just want to tell you firsthand, thank you so very much for being on. We know you got great information. I read a little bit about you, and when I was reading about you, I said, we got to get her on. And I got to do everything I can to have her here because the issues that you talk about are issues that need to be heard. And sometimes what happens is, you know, we're looking at a female vice president, you know, and she's a black female vice president. Yes. Oh, I'm on board with that more than a lot of people know because my grandma raised me. And then, you know, I've had two mamas. I had my grandmama and now I got my mama. And when they call my whole name, Eric Kelly, I sit up, stand up and say, yes, ma'am. What is going on? I was telling somebody earlier that when we started the Black Business Olympics, I was just joking, and my mother said, "Oh, that's a good idea." And then she said, "Eric Kelly, I need you to do it." And when she said Eric Kelly, I knew I was lost. I tell people about the Barack Obama pieces that I painted, and I did 44 Barack Obamas. And my mother saw me doing this art show. I don't know how she found out. She finds out everything about me. And she came to the house and she said, "You got to do 3 Barack Obamas." So I took my pen, you know, she left the room, left the house, and just drew me 3 Barack Obamas. And I said, okay, I just throw these in frames because in my mind, I was going to do a show where I was going to take stuff off my wall and take them on to the Hayti Heritage Center because people hadn't seen that work, so it was going to be new to them, but not new to me. And that's how I was going to roll. She came back. She said, I'm working on the campaign, and you have to draw 44 because he's going to be the 44th president. And I said, Mama, I don't know about this. She said, that's what I want you to do. I said, well, it's not my show. You know how kids do. It's not my show. It's Diane's show. I'll ask Diane. And so I go into Diane's office, and I don't know if you know Diane Pleasure, but I walked into Diane's office, and I said, well, and I said it real soft. I said, my mama said it'd be a good show if I did a show with Barack Obama and do 44 pieces, and he gonna be the 44th president. She jumped out the seat and said, oh, that'll be great. Okay. Now, it's 2 months from the show, right? I go home, I sit down, and I say to myself, once I draw him one time, it's going to be over. What am I going to do? And I sat there for about a couple of hours in my studio, and I said, well, you know what? I am going to draw Barack Obama 44 different ways, like 44 different artists drew him. And that's what the show was, and it was a phenomenal show. The show went on tour, and everywhere I go, I tell everybody, it's my mother's fault. She called me Eric Kelly, and this is what y'all got. And with that being said, I like to turn it on. I know I've cut, well, I really haven't cut into your minutes, but I want to turn it over to you. Anything you like to ask me before you start your show, but I want people to understand that you do talk about women's issues. And it is very critical that we sit back and listen because what you bring to the table sometimes when we talk about diversity and inclusion or we talk about community engagement or we even talk about women, sometimes their voices are not heard. And I always say you need to listen to women, especially black women, because I believe they know best. Even though I'm a black man, I believe they know best. We men are analytical thinkers. Women think more analytical, and then they think about the big picture, how it works with the big picture, and how that big picture makes the vision work. And the Black Business Expo started from my grandmother, and she saw it. I took it to another organization. The guy who was running the organization after I had did the flyers and all that work, and I'm out there selling to people, he said, I don't think we're going to do the Black Business Expo. That's 2 months of my time that I'm working. I had raised $7,000 that I was going to just turn over to them. And my great-grandfather said, whenever you get mad, just shut up and don't say nothing. I said in that meeting, I didn't say nothing. I walked out that meeting, went to my office, and I'm saying, I don't know what I'm going to do. My little brother walked in that office and said, well, what's the problem? And I told him, he said, well, why don't you just do it? Listen to what he said. We got the money. Because he always thinking about the money, right? He said, we got the money. And then my brain said, oh, we do have the money, but that we is me. And he's been working with me every year since I paid him. But sometimes you have to listen to what other people are saying. And that's how this thing got started. And we've been doing scholarships for kids. And after this, I hope to get a chance to talk to you to see how we can work with the state, because that's something that you do to kind of get other people involved. Because again, this year we didn't get kids to be involved pretty much because of COVID, but we did have 8 kids from last year. And I don't do the way you didn't make it last year deal, because we're providing scholarships and we're providing tools. So I'll call the kid up and say, hey man, you didn't get it last year, but you're worthy. Here's what we can do to help. My biggest challenge, what I would like to do, is to provide 4-year scholarships for 10 kids every year. And I know that's over $500,000, but that is my biggest goal, and that's what I want to do.
Dream big.
That's right, because my great grandfather said you can do something small because it takes the same amount of time to do something small as it does take time to do something big. I'm gonna let you go. Thank you for being here. And if you got if you have if slides or anything, Mark will take good care of you, and I'll see you on the other side. And thank you so very much.
Thank you, Eric Kelly.
All right, bye bye. She.
Hey, Mark, how are you? Thank you for helping me. I see my colleague Allie is here also, and she's going to share the screen. And right now, I'm just so pleased to join you, Black Expo USA. Thank you, Eric, for inviting me to join you. And I have the pleasure of sharing a little bit with you of the work that we do at the North Carolina Council for Women and Youth Involvement. And in talking with you about some of our work, I'm also going to talk about this challenge of building your brand as you build the status of women, and a different way of looking at community engagement through women's councils and women's commissions in the state. And I have the honor and privilege of currently serving as the executive director of the North Carolina Council for Women and Youth Involvement. We are an advocacy agency within the Department of Administration. And so we're just going to chat a little bit about what we do and who we are. So heartwarming for me to hear Eric's vision of providing scholarships for young people. Part of what we do, our youth involvement piece, involves administering the state's internship program, summer internship program. And so we had last year, despite COVID, we did our first virtual internship program for college students. So we had over 65 students who stepped up and said, I still want to do this experience in the summer, learn what it means to work at a state agency, to learn about the operations of state government as an intern, even though I will never step foot into the actual building. It was done 10 weeks, all virtual, and it was a phenomenal learning experience for young people. And so we are doing it again. We are currently accepting applications on our website. So for those of you out there who have college students in your life, who are at least sophomores or seniors, grad school students, and also students who are attending community colleges, can apply. And that application stays open until the end of the year. So it's not too soon to start thinking about summer. So spread the word and get the word out. Thank you. So Allie, we're going to go to the next slide. Officially, we're beginning at 6 o'clock. So I'm just going to use this time to talk a little bit about the Council for Women overall, what we do, to give you a sense of our work. And I'm just so honored to be part of this phenomenal team of women. Our mission is to advise the governor of North Carolina, state agencies, and the North Carolina General Assembly about issues impacting the lives of women and youth. Our vision, of course, is that North Carolina is the best place for women and youth to thrive and succeed. And so we do that by administering a number of programs. We've been in existence for over 50 years as a part of state government. And it was the advocacy of women legislators and women volunteer leaders who created the Council for Women. And so part of what we have done is to continue to advocate for women and youth, to identify issues that are unique to women and youth, women primarily, and to make resources available to the public and decision makers with regard to specific recommendations to improve the lives of women across our state. We also administer grants, state grants, to domestic violence and sexual assault service agencies and providers that are helping families and youth and survivors every day. And in all 100 counties, there are programs operating that receive both state and federal funds. And we have the honor and privilege of working with those programs. Even though this is November, we're just coming off of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which occurred in October. And so we have some phenomenal programs right here in the Triangle. Durham Crisis Response Center is one of our partner agencies here, as well as Interact. And so we have the honor of working with those programs as well as programs that build awareness about human trafficking. That's another part of our work, impacting the lives of youth and women, and also men, actually. And so when you think about the North Carolina Council for Women and Youth Involvement, those of you who've never heard of us before, I hope now you have a little bit of insight into who we are and what we do. And I encourage you to visit our website after the presentation so that you will have an opportunity to learn more. We are guided by an advisory board. Members of the board are women from all over the state. There are 20 women who are appointed by Governor Cooper. And so they serve 2-year terms, and they represent women who bring a variety of expertise to us. Part of what they do is they help to lead our work around the status of women reports. So we're going to talk a little bit about the reports today. We've been issuing these reports annually for the past 3 years. We have first the Status of Women Employment Earnings Report. And we also then last year issued the Status of Women Health and Wellness Report. And then this year we issued the Status of Women Political Participation Report. Very timely, right? And so we have presentations on our website, and we can chat with your organization if you're interested in knowing more about those. And again, we're going to talk a little bit about the highlights of those, at least the most recent report, Employment Earnings, because it relates directly to this topic of how do you build your brand and your relationship by also building your community. And one way to do that is by serving on a state board or a nonprofit board. Next slide, Allie. I want you to hear from Secretary Sanders, who leads the Department of Administration, and she's going to give you some highlights from our Status of Women Employment Earnings Report right now. I'm not hearing that, Mark, are you? Allie, the sound is on mute. We're going to need to start this over again if we can figure out how to get it off of mute, because it's just so phenomenal, the video. We have to be able to allow folks to hear it. So we're going to take a little bit of time here and try to troubleshoot and figure out how to get this video off of mute. Well, what we can do is we can move forward, and I'll just share out loud what Secretary Sanders is saying. We could try that. What do you think? Okay. In North Carolina, we are moving forward. No, let's keep doing with this. Okay. So in North Carolina, women are 51% of the population. We are the majority, despite the fact oftentimes our voice and our value is overshadowed and marginalized. From Manteo to Cherokee counties, women are our unsung heroes. And as you know, we juggle work responsibilities, managing businesses, families, and careers. And this is Michelle Sanders, who is Secretary of the Department of Administration. And she's talking about the fact that women are the fabric of our community. So, and that's somebody you might know. And so women's issues are everyone's issues. And so we're talking here about the fact that the policies and the opportunities for change are all of our responsibilities. And we're going to go ahead, Allie, and go forward with my PowerPoint so that folks can go to our website later and they can check out this video. It is about a 3-minute video segment. And you can continue to take a look at this video, and I encourage you to do that. So what the video highlights are statistics from our Status of Women Employment and Earnings report. And it just gives you an example of the kind of information that we have available for decision makers and for you as you start to look at the fact that women are significantly contributing to the state of North Carolina. Where we're working right now is in the private sector. Also, 9% of us are working in the nonprofit sector, and followed second by the state government. And 7% of women in North Carolina in 2016 were self-employed. And this is because the report was issued 3 years ago. These numbers, of course, have changed, with local and federal government representing 8%. So you can see where women are employed in the state in various areas of the state. And so when we look at women business owners, we also see that women are engaged as business owners in a variety of sectors, from healthcare and social services, representing about 14% of all business types that are owned by women, to administrative and support services, representing the next largest segment of women-owned businesses. And then particularly when we look at not only women business owners, but women who are in the workplace, we see a large percentage of these women are engaged in managerial and professional careers, with retail trade being the last area where women are represented. But we are 51% of the population. We are also employed in various sectors across our state. And as business owners, women are represented in just about every segment in our state. Next slide, Allie. And of course, this should not be new to anyone who's looking at the data. There is an earning wage gap in North Carolina and really all over the United States. When we look at Black women's earning wage gap, we see that Black women are earning $30,000 on average as compared to $40,000 earned annually by Asian Pacific and white women. And then, of course, we look at the purple bar and we see that men are earning twice as much annually, and that Hispanic women are earning an average of $24,000 to $25,000. So women of color across the board are experiencing a wage gap, which means we have to do better as a state, but also we need to understand that's one of the reasons why women are owning their own businesses and deciding to be the captain of their own income and purse, right? Women-owned businesses are more likely than men-owned businesses to be without paid employees, right? And then one of the other issues that we know the data is telling us that women face is that the annual payroll for men-owned businesses is 5 times more than that of women-owned businesses. And so it's a resource issue, it's a pay gap issue for women who are in the workplace. And then when we talk about the impact there, we can see that there is a lot of room for improvement in terms of women of color business owners and women of color in the workplace in North Carolina. This is just an example of the kind of data that's available in the Status of Women report. And this report was made available by the Council for Women Advisory Board, who had the foresight to continue to commission this work because it's important to get this information out to the public. Next slide, please. One of the things that the reports do is include recommendations for change, right? It's not enough to identify the challenges without identifying how we can change the challenges. And so some of the recommendations that you see in the Status of Women Employment and Earnings report is to create policies to support work-life balance. Women are 51% of the population. We see that there are a large percentage of women who are in the workforce, but we know that women need support services in order to remain vibrant and contributing in the workplace, such as paid family leave, such as paid sick leave. If you're working in a retail job, for the most part, unless you're in a professional or management position, you do not get paid for sick leave. So you show up. And we found more than ever before now how that impacts our economy and how that impacts our families. And we need policies that allow for predictable work schedules so that, again, women have the opportunity to be available to their family, but also to plan for their schedules as well. And then, of course, the recommendations include supporting women business owners. We know that capital is an issue. And so we need to have systems that provides resource capital for those women-owned businesses so they're not using their personal money or their family savings to start up their businesses. And I talked earlier about the summer internship program that the state of North Carolina offers to college students through the Department of Administration. We need to promote paid internship programs. The summer internship program that I shared with you earlier is a paid internship program. Now, it's a minimum wage paid internship program, but it still offers 10 weeks of valuable on-the-job learning, 40 hours a week, what it's like to work in a business. The hands-on skills that you develop are invaluable. So we get more women in the pipeline and in the workforce and as business owners when we can get more women in apprenticeship programs, for example. So we can break some of those barriers that keep women out of non-traditional careers, and that we also look for opportunities to get women in high growth occupations that pay very good salaries, such as IT. Boy, where would we be right now without IT, right? Transportation, engineering, and construction. Let's go to the next slide. We have an interview here with one of my colleagues from the Department of Administration, Tammy Hall, who is head of the Office of Historically Underutilized Businesses. And again, this whole question of engaging in relationships in a way that supports your brand, but also helps to build your community through serving on commissions and boards. And hopefully, fingers crossed, this will play. Let's see how we do. So I have the honor and pleasure of talking to my colleague, Tammy Hall, who is Director of Historically Underutilized Businesses within the Department of Administration. Welcome, Tammy.
Hi, Mary. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
So, Tammy, tell us about your role with the State of North Carolina Historically Underutilized Businesses, or HUB Business Commission, and how that role aligns with your business goals and your professional goals.
Right. So thank you. I do have the awesome pleasure, as you indicated, to serve as the director of the Office for Historically Underutilized Businesses. And what this office is it's our business diversity inclusion office for the state of North Carolina. So we are charged with creating policy recommendations, leveling the playing field, as we say, to ensure that all business owners have an opportunity to participate in our supply chain. Because what we know is when we bring in large numbers of businesses to compete, we drive costs down, but we must figure out how to allow all businesses, small businesses, medium, emerging businesses, all types of businesses, allow them to participate in the supply chain.
So driving costs down is certainly something that is music to a lot of folks' ears, and also expanding opportunities is what really we want to do, not only for women-owned businesses, but for minority and Black-owned businesses as well. What advice would you give business owners who are Black and who want to build their networks?
Right. So the number one fact that we know is people tend to do business with folks they know and like. Mm-hmm. And so the way that you do that is you build long-lasting relationships. And so what we say to business owners is that take every opportunity to network, to learn more about your competitors, to sharpen your skills in terms of research, understand the agencies that you're targeting for opportunities. So, you take advantage of those types of things, and then also just sharpening your pencil when it comes to submitting proposals, because we know is that usually it's the lowest responsible bidder. And so part of that is in perfecting your game and developing relationships.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One of the things that networking allows to do is, as you said, expand our relationships. And I have the pleasure of serving on the board commission for Office of Historically Underutilized Businesses. I've met some fantastic business owners as a result. What would you say about serving on boards and commissions as a practical business strategy?
Absolutely. So we should always strive to broaden our interactions. So, look for opportunities to provide service back. And that's not always meaning that your service is compensated, but also volunteering your time to serve on various boards and commissions. UNC has a really good program where they train you on how to really look for that right board position and what really complements your skills and your abilities. For me, it's all about your passion. Where is your passion? Connect that with a particular organization and volunteer. You probably never really understand the magnitude of that importance.
Right. Following your passion and learning more about your community. So let's talk about you for a minute. I've had the pleasure of working with you for the past couple of years and admiring you from up close. What progress?
Thank you. No, the feeling's mutual, because you have a way with your women's council and managing that whole process that is just very special. So kudos to the work that you're doing as well.
Thank you. And as you know, working with the Women's Council, North Carolina Council for Women, is a labor of love. Phenomenal women have been appointed to that group, and they are guiding us along the way. And before we wrap up, I just want to understand and give you a chance to talk about the progress you've made in your life that has helped your business and your interest as a Black woman who's helping her community.
Right. So I'll tell you one thing that I often say about my life is that I've on many occasions taken the roads less traveled. So I've taken risks that have been very rewarding. And so if I can say one thing that would be a benefit is to never close the door to an opportunity, because who knows what's on the other side. And things can be perceived in one direction, but once you're in and you are able to project yourself and develop the relationships that are needed, the sky is the limit. And so I always say to business owners and to my friends and my professional friends, take chances. We will never understand the impact if we dare to really support.
Thank you. Take chances. Never underestimate the value of the opportunity. And oh, by the way, volunteer and give back to your community.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. My kids often say, Mom, you have about 6 jobs. And I say, only one of them pay me. The others are volunteer because that's the passion and that's what I enjoy doing. So others, I think, will get the fulfillment as well.
Well, thank you, Tammy. We really appreciate having you join us today and look forward to working with you more in the future. You have
Thank
a good
you. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for thinking of me. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So that was a wonderful opportunity for us to hear from Tammy Hall, my colleague. I know she's doing a presentation as part of the Black Business Expo. And so I encourage you to look for her on the schedule and to tune in. And she shared with us a lot of wisdom. Do business. People like to do business with people they know and like. And so serving on boards and commissions such as the Women's Commission or Women's Council enables you to develop those relationships. But there are many, many, many different women's councils across the state. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say women's councils. There are many opportunities for boards and commission service across the state of North Carolina. I happen to have the honor and privilege of working with the North Carolina Council for Women Advisory Board, led by Jenny Black. And I've had a chance to meet some phenomenal women as a result of working with the board. Those women lead the Status of Women report process. And so one of their resources that they have helped to guide is available to citizens across the state and is available on our website. And it identifies policy recommendations for how to change the lives of women in North Carolina. And that's what boards do. They advocate for change. And so by serving on the board and commission, you really are working to improve the quality of life for women by advocating for some of the issues that I highlighted earlier, for equal pay, for greater access to affordable childcare, for education, for increased employability, and for retention in the workforce. So serving on the board helps you build your brand, build your network. It helps you give back to your community and advocate for change that's positive. And so how do you get involved in a local board? How do you get involved in a state board and commission? So here's the answer to that question. You apply. Tammy talked about following your passion, taking a risk, and stepping out. If you go to nc.gov, and you put in boards and commissions in the browser, then you will get to the website. And the website for the state of North Carolina includes current openings. It includes the application. It includes a link to recent appointments. And so you can see the hundreds of boards and commissions that are currently available in our state, where members are serving every day and they are making recommendations for policy changes. And so I encourage you to explore this resource, get involved, build your brand, build your community, and help us to continue to work on closing these gaps that I highlighted to you earlier. You're making a huge difference by getting involved. There's a lot of work we can do when we work together, and we know that. And we know not only are women the majority of the population, 51%, but we also know that we can't wait to close that pay gap. Right now, it's estimated that we won't close that gap until 2060. And that's optimistic. So we need change. We need a lot of change. And so it's up to us to be the change that we seek, right? And so we're going to take some time now to see if anybody has any questions. Our final slide gives you a way to connect with us. And we're going to show you, and thank you again, Eric, for inviting us. You can find out more about the Status of Women report by going to our website, www.councilforwomen.nc.gov. You can also find out more about historically underutilized businesses by going to that website. Phenomenal resource for businesses. And as I said, you can reach me, Mary Williams Stover, at my email account, maryw.stover@doa.nc.gov. Thank you so much and have a great day. Good evening. I'll take any questions. If anyone has any questions, you can just put them in the chat. If there are any questions. All right, I don't see any questions, and it must be dinner time. So thank you all for joining me. I've given you some of your time back. Thank you, Allie. Thank you, Mark. Couldn't do it without you. Thank you, Eric Kelly, for the invitation. Be well, y'all. Bye-bye.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, and I noticed that we have another question, and of course, our next speaker is going to be Lou Williams. But right now, we're going to ask that Dr. Rogers come up if he's in the room, and we're going to talk to him for a few minutes before we get the next speaker. Dr. Rogers, are you there? And of course, Dr. Rogers, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
We're going to press you into service right about now. I know you got a new book that's coming out and a couple of things that's going on. Would you just talk about those? I'm going to get off the screen because I got a couple of things that are going on right now, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this invitation to speak on the book that I'm writing. And as a shy author, I retain the right to not discuss the book until it's actually published. And I want to thank you, Mr. Kelly, for this opportunity. I want to say that I really enjoyed the last presentation, and I hope that you that were listening did the same. This notion of being recruited in the service, as we just saw Mr. Kelly do for me, recruit me in the service, is a wonderful opportunity for our businesses to be good corporate citizens. One of our speakers earlier today spoke of this notion of a sustainable economy and business being sustainable, and that an element of a sustainable business was that it in fact was of service to the larger community in which it was a part. And by serving on these boards, you'll be amazed at how relationships are established, how opportunities come your way, how people recall that you were of service in the past and they recruit you into being of service in the future. While I had an opportunity to serve on a board of Howard University in Washington, D.C., it was literally an amazing life transforming experience. I served on the board during the tenure of Vernon Jordan, who we know as Mr. Corporate or Mr. Boardroom, because he assists boards in acquiring talent to serve on these corporate boards. Kenneth Chenault, who is the chairman and CEO of American Express, was also on the board at the time. General Colin Powell was a member, he was a leader actually, of our presidential search committee during the time that I served on the board of Howard, and we had an opportunity to interact with him as it relates to the search for a university president. We also had the woman whose name will come to me in a moment. She was the president of Smith College at the time. She served on the board of Howard University, as did Richard Dick Parsons, who at the time was CEO of Time Warner, one of the largest corporations in America's history. And he was, in fact, a Rockefeller man. So he was educated by the Rockefellers, or he was a part of their economic engine. So again, by serving on these boards, you'll be amazed at who you come in contact with. You may come in contact with people that represent a different geographic region, people in Wilmington, North Carolina, for example, or Charlotte, North Carolina, if you happen to be in Raleigh or Morrisville or Durham. You may come in contact with people that are in an industry you desire to communicate with. SAS Institute, the CEO of SAS Institute, is considered the wealthiest individual who's public, because there are people who operate in private, the wealthiest public individual in the state of North Carolina. And to come in contact with people who work at SAS Institute. Some of you, in fact, on this very call may work for SAS Institute or another Research Triangle Park company. You, in fact, may find that you fit right in with the service on these boards. And they're looking for diversity. They're looking for diversity of thought. They're looking for diversity of perspective. They're looking for diversity in terms of racial, ethnic, gender makeup. And so your point of view will be valued on these boards simply maybe because it's different from the other points of views. And if you want to see the state of North Carolina grow, economically grow in terms of inclusion, we know that it's growing because Forbes magazine many years ago listed, I think the Raleigh-Durham area is one of the best places in the nation to live. And North Carolina still pops up on the radar of best places to live, best places to open businesses, best places to do business. And they say because we have such a rich, educated workforce, richly educated workforce here in the state of North Carolina, that it is one of the best places in the nation with which to, what do they say, live, work, and play. So we know, of course, between the Research Triangle Park, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, that we have many universities: North Carolina Central University, Duke University in Durham, Durham Tech University, Durham Tech, Wake Tech, North Carolina State University, Peace College, Meredith College, St. Augustine's College, Shaw University. We also have in Chapel Hill, UNC Chapel Hill, and again, the flourishing University of North Carolina Technical Institutions, of which one of the speakers represented her service at the C level of that institution. So there's a highly educated workforce here. This is a great way to recruit talent into our corporations and, of course, into service on these particular boards. In addition to the wonderful talent that we have here, we have a fairly affordable economy here. In places like Washington, D.C., where the economic kind of cost of living is 125% of the cost of living in other locations, I think North Carolina falls in somewhere in the 89% cost of living. It's rising, of course, as we have more people that come into our state. And the good word is out that North Carolina is a great state to, again, live, work, and play, and to conduct business. In addition to it being a place that's affordable, it's literally beautiful. I'm gonna be honest. I'm a fan of North Carolina. We have 3 particular zones that you're probably familiar with. We have the mountainous regions. When you travel up to Asheville and Boone, North Carolina, right now it's the high season for leaves turning color. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. The skyline, the Appalachian skyline up there is absolutely amazing if you're in the fall and you're in the colors. Then we have the Piedmont region, which is more the flatland region from the Triad to the Triangle, High Point, Winston-Salem. We also include Greensboro in that. up into the triangle, of course, Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. And it's more flat, but we have so many small towns and hamlets and beautiful places to live. Small town USA. It's almost like a Hallmark commercial, or a Hallmark television series can be shot in all of these wonderful small towns here in North Carolina. And then, of course, we have the coastal region. And if you love water, if you love the beach, and we have the Outer Banks, we have Wilmington, we have Cape Hatteras, we have a beautiful state. So we have wonderful natural resources. African American farmers are growing delicious food. We're an agricultural based state, but years ago, leadership in our state got together, the educational leadership, the business leadership, as well as the academic leadership, and determined that in order to grow our economy into the future, that we wouldn't be as based in textiles as we once were. And it's taken a while, but we know that again, um, um, biomeds are huge here. FinTech is on its way here. We know that technology, the Silicon Valley of the East, in fact, is considered the Research Triangle Park, and even in Winston-Salem and Greensboro. In Greensboro, we know that there are technical parks. This partnership between UNC Greensboro and North Carolina A&T State University. So within the context of all of the talent coming out of our HBCUs, all of the talent coming out of our colleges and universities and our technical universities, our businesses should be included in accessing these talent points. I'm going to give you a tip that I think you may enjoy. As a business owner, if you're looking for talent, go to the career service centers of the university that you're interested in recruiting talent from. They'll ask for a write-up on your business. They'll ask for internet to your connections to your social media. And they'll ask you, what positions are you seeking to recruit from? I'm going to encourage you to recruit internships into your business. Paid internships, unpaid internships. Give young people an opportunity to be absorbed into your business structure, and in the application of their majors and their intellectual pursuits while a college student, giving them that opportunity is an investment actually in their growth. And then talk with an accountant, speak to them about this notion of your business making donations for nonprofits. We know that many nonprofits rely on this time of the year, November, December, October, the last quarter, to ask for sustenance, resources, cash, deposits for their nonprofit work. We know that the Christmas season brings into existence gift giving, and we know that our businesses create gifts, and it's possible to donate some of those gifts for others to receive, and it's a tax write-off. So I'm going to encourage all of our businesses to, again, consider serving on the boards as indicated, being good corporate citizens, which includes employing our young people. We know where they are. Our young people are in school. If they're not in school, they're in our neighborhoods. If they're not in our neighborhoods, they're in our very homes, right? So let's employ the young people and give them exposure to our businesses and our business ventures. Excited about the chat and any questions that you may have at this time. Oh, we have a video of you at Community Matters. Okay, wonderful. That's good to know. Interested always in a video. We have another 28 minutes before we're joined by Mr. Lou Fields out of Baltimore, Maryland. And Mr. Fields is in the tourism and hospitality industry. He's a good friend, a good buddy, and he's an extremely effective organizer and gentleman in the hospitality and tourism industry. He'll be joining us at 7 p.m. this evening. How is your business doing? Economically, how was your first quarter, your second quarter, your third? We're in the fourth quarter now. How are your receipts looking? Who are your clients? How can you expand your clientele base in the digital space. We talked about branding earlier. Our brandologist spoke to us about being consistent across platforms. Took me back to the drawing board on my social media platforms. How is your business positioning itself for 2021? Are you a goal setter? I know we take it for granted that we know how to set goals, but where did you learn that? Did you learn that in K through 12? The schools I went to, I went to some pretty good schools. I cannot recall schools teaching me goal setting, right? So with the young people in your life, of course, I encourage you to teach them goal setting. And the goal setting, that's time sensitive. Goals for the next week or 30 days, and then 60 days and 90 days. Goals for 6 months. Goals for the year. What are the 2-year goals on your business? The 5-year goals on your business? Have you considered the 10-year goals on your business? Do you have a succession plan? Who, in fact, is going to run the business once you departed? Is your exit strategy to sell your business? To whom are you going to sell your business? Are you one who acquires businesses built by others? How many businesses are you looking at currently for purchase? There's a lot of opportunity out there right now. There is money in the water, as they say. Calls are coming in. Your business is established. People know about you. They're offering to make loans under you at interesting interest rates. All of that is there. The question is, are you ready? Are you positioned? Are your books in order? Do you have your corporate history laid out in such a manner that if someone were to ask you, I'm interested in purchasing your business, I'd like to look at your records for the last 5 years. And you can have a discussion with them about who your best clients are, who are your highest receipts coming from, and what areas have you invested in R&D and research and development. Ultimately, to grow your business, you need a growth strategy. The same thing comes with your goals. What is your strategy to actually obtain your goals? Does your strategy involve others? Is it a one-person operation? Whom are you willing to work with? What are other businesses in your supply chain that you want to communicate your goals to that can be a part of your goal obtainment? Because they're in your supply chain. And once you establish with them what your goals are, they can then adjust their supply to grow or to shrink based on your particular goals in your market. Maybe you want to transfer technologies or go from a plant-based situation to silicon-based situation. For those of you who are in the technical fields, in the medical fields, in the biomedical fields, and we know that everything from ear, nose, and throat to eyes and dental wear, dental care is extremely important. We know that esthetology, esthetology is in time, forgive me, estheticians, and we know that massaging and chiropractors, again, this self-care notion, this is extremely important for you as a professional who is the engine of your business to actually operate at optimal potential. And then let's talk about, do you own your business or does your business own you? As a business owner, you go to work each day and you may work from 8 until 8 p.m., 7 until 10 p.m. And if in fact you have employees or assistants who work with you, you may be able to walk away from the business for a few hours for lunch or to meet a client outside of your office. And your business may get new business while you're out and about. But if you walked away from your business for a week or a month, how will it operate? Will you come back and your business will have gained more than it had before you departed? It will have gained more clients. It would have gained more contracts because of the way that your business is structured. Do you own your business, or does your business own you? And then what is your desire in terms of the growth pattern of your business? Is it your desire for 3 years from now for your business to have the same number of employees it has now, or double, or triple? If it is to grow, is it to simply grow the line of income revenue stream that you have now? You have 100 customers. You're going to grow your business to where you have 200 customers or 400 customers. Or is it your desire and intention, while you are servicing your customers, your clients, to actually generate new avenues of revenue? Are you doing research and development and finding out what are new avenues of revenue that you can go into that's connected to or related to your areas of expertise and or your business? Remember that Kodak literally had an opportunity to buy digital. They were aware of digital imaging and the taking of photos long before we started to do so with our computers, right? With our phones, correct? They had the technology first. But they decided that where they were with the Kodak film and the photographs as they were taken was so lucrative that they did not want to even employ or explore other opportunities. And what became of Kodak? Kodak became obsolete. They did not, in the words of a Marine, simplify, adapt, and overcome. They were not flexible, nimble enough. The leadership didn't have vision enough to invest in R&D and create new products. Now let's look at a company like Apple. They're constantly investing in R&D. What type of iPhone are you operating with, right? Do you have a iPhone 5 or 7, 10, 12, or do you already have the iPhone X, the futuristic one? Well, in a matter of months, if not years, that will become obsolete because they're probably already there working on iPhone 25, right? Their R&D, research development, they're investing in it, and they're creating consumers for the future. They're creating the products that will satisfy the taste and the needs for the future. And in your business, how much innovation are you applying? What are the needs of your customers in the future? Are you waiting to be reactionary to respond to what they tell you their needs are? Or is your business innovative enough to take into account what you believe their needs will be, and you're working on creating the solution to those needs? It was put to me that there's a difference between a hustle, a side hustle, and a business. A hustle, one is trying to, be about generating revenue, doing this, that, hither, and yon. A side hustle is someone has a 9 to 5 and they're engaged in, a side revenue stream that they can kind of make happen while their primary focus is 9 to 5. A business has a business mission statement, a vision statement, business objectives. They have a product, good, or service that they're supplying to their customers. And a business methodically goes after customers that they have a product, good, or service that satisfy the needs of that particular customer. And so I ask you as a listening audience, how are you preparing for the future? It's currently November the 10th, 2020. And in a matter of months, we'll be looking at March 2021. And then it'll be December 2021. The question is, are you preparing to embrace the future by bringing it into existence based on your goals and your business objectives? Or are you simply willing to fall with the whims of the weather and whip in whichever direction the future may particularly take your ship? None of us saw COVID coming. I certainly didn't. when it hit. We know that others knew about it, but they didn't take action to prevent the spread. Right now, the spread is on. I think they're saying ridiculous numbers to me. 10 million Americans have caught COVID, a million in the last week, and the numbers are growing up exponentially. So I encourage you to maintain your health, your mental health.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, and welcome to me as we continue to do the show. We're going to have another person to come on in just a minute. So I shouldn't say person because I know who it is. It's going to be Lou Williams. And he's going to talk about some very interesting parts of business. And as we continue to do business, one of the things that we want to say, excuse me, one of the things that we want to say is that the reason that we do this show is to show to other individuals that it's possible, that there's a lot of activity on the internet in terms of different kinds of things that people can do. But what we've done is something that nobody's done ever, and that is to do a 24-hour Black Business Network. And I want people to understand that we are on a 24-hour network all the time. And when you understand that we on the network all the time, you got to understand we want to focus this network. Here's an opportunity for you as a company or corporation to chime in, because the businesses that are coming on here, they have voices and they have connections and they have communities. And when you chime into these voices and connections and communities, then you as a company or corporations get the opportunity to sell your products and services to the audience. As I do what I do each and every day, I do understand the economics of what we're doing. Of course, we're using time, which is capital time, and that capital time is very important as you look to the future. COVID 19 has truly taught us one particular thing as we look at where we're going and what we want to do. It has taught us that, people are at home, and while they're at home, they're thinking about what to do next. And having a network like this across the world is something that not only do we need, it's something that we must have. As the technology grows, we need to grow with the technology and not sit back and allow technology to overrun us. Now, this evening and the last couple of days has been just so different from anything that I have seen on the internet. Most of the times when you go online, just as Damon Johns did, he did the entrepreneurship day, and it was a very interesting day that had people talking about who was getting money and how they were going to be successful. And while I enjoyed that, the thing that really I didn't feel on that particular show, and I shouldn't say I didn't feel anything because I loved every moment, but the thing I didn't feel on that show was ordinary business owners who are working each and every day, who are not asking for monies from companies and corporations, but they were asking for an opportunity to share their missions and their goals and what they're doing. That's what's going on here. We have business owners who absolutely are sharing what they do in hopes that what they do will earn them some money. In other words, they believe that their value is valuable. And you have to realize if your value is not valuable, then who's going to pay you? If you don't value your value, then nobody will value your value. And again, the Black Business Expo television network is a network that of people, businesses, and companies who are getting together to share their voices. And their voices are ringing loudly the last 2 days. And we have 4 more days. I started to say 3 because I'm thinking Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But we're going to go to Sunday. So that'll be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which means there's 5 more days of this. And if you're enjoying the show and you see something that you want to do, you want to reach out to us, you can reach out at info at Black Business Expo USA, and voice your comments, of course, and we'll do what we can to respond to them. But more importantly, as we look at what's going on in the 21st century, this is one way for us to utilize that. And as we continue to utilize the technologies that are here for us, we want you to always chime in and understand that there's no voice that doesn't matter. There's no choice that doesn't matter. And more importantly, you matter. So as I say that, I want you to think about what you're going to do about it. Are you going to send this out to your families, your friends, and say, hey, let's go to the Black Business Network and listen to the business owners speak about their joy, their love for their business, and then let's support them. You know, $1.8 trillion is what everybody is pulling from African Americans all over the country, of this particular country. And that's not to mention what's going on in Europe and other countries. We can reach out across these fair lands utilizing this platform. And I implore you to think about how you can do that. We've had some very interesting calls that I've gotten from the national mastermind group that wants to participate. And then I've gotten calls from other networks, young people who are doing networks who want to participate. So as I looked at what's going on in the near future, we got to begin to think about how you can be involved, because only with you can this thing be successful. You ask yourself this question as you sit there and you think about what I'm saying. Who is doing what we're doing right now? And why hasn't it done before? And what is it that we're doing that is keeping us from connecting across this country? I say a lot of times it's so hard for people to join together and build something that's for other folk. And that's what this is about. It's not about the Black Business Expo and Eric Kelly III and my network. It is about you and your network, because you need to know about your mental health. You know, you need to know about your financial health. You need to know about the state of North Carolina. And when you do know these things, it allows you to grow, because growth sometimes is a hard thing. We get set in our ways and we say we only can use the telephone to communicate, but people are communicating all across this fair globe utilizing just this apparatus. And as I move on to our next speaker by the name of Lou Williams, I hope he's in the room. If he's in the room, then Mark, you can bring him out. Lou Williams.
Hey, it's Lou Fields. Lou Fields, the real deal.
Excuse me, Lou Fields. Lou, you know
Lou
what?
Williams, he on the basketball court. Sweet Lou played basketball, man. This Lou
well,
Fields.
he showed he wasn't playing good this year. Lou kind of blew a tie out, and they didn't make it to the finals to play against them Lakers. So I guess we know he plays, but
Yes,
we don't
sir.
know how well he plays.
How you
But
doing, Doctor?
pretty good. How's it going today, man?
And I just want to thank you guys and appreciate the love and all the work y'all doing to put this thing together, man.
Well, we really appreciate you to come on board in such short notice, because a lot of times we as business owners, we truly are busy, you know, building our businesses. And I understand that you do some great things. Tell me a little bit about your company first before we get into your presentation, because we got like 3 minutes.
But that's excellent. So I'll get some background information, and basically, this is my third decade on this Buy Black initiatives. We started in Baltimore with the Black Fridays campaign.
Mm-hmm.
I did some work with the Black Pages magazine directory,
Mm-hmm.
and then from there I moved into the tourism industry, because that in Baltimore is a $6 billion industry.
And that was a smart move. That, you know, I talk about industries all the time, and sometimes we don't look at industries from a profit margin. We look at industries from how we feel, and sometimes how we feel is not really real.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So once I got into the industry, I published a African American tourist guide for Baltimore, and since I had it already paid for, I put 500 Black businesses in the back. And so that began my directory, if you will, over the last 30 years of meeting, greeting, supporting, and putting dollars in Black business.
Well, I hope that we're going to be in your magazine one day. Hopefully, I get a chance to be on the cover or whatever we need to do. But more importantly, I want to applaud you for doing 30 years worth of work. I think one of the challenges that we have in this country is that people don't see or know you. And what I mean by that is the black man who's doing the work, 30 years of work. When I talk about the Black Business Expo, I can go all the way back to Jerry Roebuck, who was doing Black Expo USA even before the Black Pages decided that they wanted to do Black Expo on tour. And so when we begin to look at the people who actually are doing the work, that is not what I call the sexy. That is not the rapper. That is not the drug dealer. That's not the guys who are out here doing other things. That's the man who's putting on the suit and tie and going and doing the real work. And nobody publicized that when it comes to the black man.
Yes, sir. When I started, we didn't have money for suits and ties, man. But we had the passion.
Yes.
And we knew that in a school like Baltimore, we're spending millions and millions on this, that, everything you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So we looked at tourism initially because it affects almost every aspect of life. You get a hotel, you get an airline ticket, a bus ticket, you get a train ticket, you get in your car, you gotta buy gas, you gotta buy food. And then when you hit a city, you're gonna spend more money.
That's right.
And our African American tourism is almost $100 billion in that per year. The conventions, the hotels that we rent, the big food parties we do. So if you look at that from an African American perspective, okay, so you had the NAACP in your town, you had that black convention, but they stayed in hotels downtown, not owned by us. They went to the east downtown, not owned by us.
That's right.
But the leaders of the city, black folks say, no, they spent $50 million in Baltimore. And we say, the Black Museum, the Black tour guide, the Black the Black hairstylists, the Black people who do all kinds of stuff, professionals. They say, look, $50 million from Black people. When they left, what was the impact to the Black community?
And
This is the measure fraud.
And that is the key to what we're doing with the Black Business Network right now. We're doing 24 hours where people get a chance to say what you just said, because nobody, as I said before, now, I don't know how old you are, but I know how old I am. And, I'm 60.
You older than me, I can tell that by looking at you.
I'm going to let you slide on that.
I'm 59, man.
Well, you older than me. You older than me, bro.
So you're supposed to say Elder Fields now.
Yeah, Elder Fields, how you doing? How you doing, Elder Fields?
I'm doing fine, my young man.
But at the end of the day, people don't know we exist, because we are the myth in America. The business owners like you, the business owners like me, the business owners like Dennis, we exist, and we're out here making it happen. And some way or another, we have to build that ecosystem to get to that $1.8 trillion, because that $1.8 trillion is real. When you talk about people coming to your town and not spending money with you, think about people living every day and not spending money with black folk. Anyway, it's 7:02. I know we could go on, but it's time for your presentation. I really appreciate you coming on for short notice. I know you're going to do an outstanding job. I did want Dennis to bring you up, but it looks like it's me and you, brother. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce to you and reacquaint him to others, Mr. Lou Fields.
Yes,
Lou.
and let me thank you again, Dr. I just know that only a few people in your circle know how hard it is the job you're doing.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. We say big thank you to you. But I know this takes almost every week you have to do this job.
Yes.
One of the things that I looked at after I did the Baltimore Black Pages, I looked at whether or not we had organizational strength. in a city of over 600,000 people with another 400,000 blacks around the same county lines, that's over easy a million, probably 1.5 million black people in our state. And of course, thousands and thousands of black businesses struggling to find customers and increase support from not just black folk, but everybody who wants to do quality businesses just happen to be with a black person. So one of the things I noticed, we did not have an organization that was more general so everybody could be a member. In Baltimore, we have the President's Roundtable, and that's a black business organization over 20 years of people who do over $2 to $4 million per year. Now, that's a very exclusive group because if you're not doing $1 million in sales, you can't even join. So then we looked around and saw other groups such as the minority contractors, the construction companies. They had their minority contractors association. But in '05, I was talking to Dr. Jim Klingman. He was a professor of history and entrepreneurship at the University of Cincinnati. But Jim also, Dr. Klingman, has also started over 15 black chambers of commerce around the country. So in '05, December, I'm talking to Dr. Klingman and saying, here's a guy who has married the academic with the Black Chamber, the organization. So I asked him to come to Baltimore in February '06 to be our guest speaker. In our conversations, he asked, well, Louis, you guys got a Black Chamber in Baltimore? I said, well, I heard of several people try to start it, and sometimes it get off the ground, but it doesn't last. And so I did my research. And then in 2006, February, we formed the Greater Baltimore Black Chamber of Commerce. We use the term greater because Baltimore City with all those black folks, Howard County, another city with black folks everywhere, and Baltimore County, probably close to 1 million black people in these 3 counties in Baltimore and Maryland. And neither had a Black Chamber of Commerce. So '06, we formed the Greater Baltimore Black Chamber of Commerce. And to help it maintain and sustain and not go under, I asked the late, great Dean of Black Businesses in Baltimore to be our chairman. That's Mr. Raymond Haysberg Sr. He's passed now, but I knew if I had him on my right hand as my chairman, a lot of the foolishness and the doubting and can we do this and questioning leadership that we often sometimes do would be squashed because you have the man, not doctor, but Mr. Raymond Haysberg at your side. So then we met with 15 other business persons. Everybody put up a couple bucks. And we incorporated and formed in 2006 the Greater Baltimore Black Chamber of Commerce. The motto of our chamber is our strength is in our numbers, but our power is in our unity. So beginning in '06 February and continuing now 14 years, the Greater Baltimore Black Chamber of Commerce meets every first Wednesday at 7 o'clock at Coppin State University. And remember tonight, one of my sub-themes is building alliances, relationships, and partnerships, and developing systems and organizational strength. Because again, a small business person, he's out there on the sea by himself. He barely got a canoe and a row. He out there. But he needs to have partners who he can collaborate with, people he can talk to when things aren't going well. So we formed the Black Chamber of Commerce. I served as the first president 3 years, '06 through '08, stepped down in '09, let the young people take it over, and they've running it still 14 years later. And what we asked our attendees, maybe we're getting 120, 130 people every first Wednesday. And over 5 or 6 months of doing our agenda the way we did it, we took a survey of the people who were members and those coming. We asked, what do you really need out of your Black Chamber? And Haysberg, for those who need to know, is spelled Haysbert, Haysberg. So we asked our membership, we did a survey of all the services we provided, guest speakers, connection with contracting, trying to hook up meet and greets with different business people. When they answered the survey, the majority of the respondents stated what they needed more was how to do things, how to write a business plan, how to create your marketing plan, how to create your sales plan, how to get into the branding and the marketing and the advertising promotions. Because these businesses, they knew their business. They knew how to do what they were doing. But what I learned from Mr. Haysberg, you have a business of the business. And that's when you move yourself out of being just the CEO or you're just trying to make sure the business goes good every day. You go home or to your office and you put on that 12 hats of a president of a company. And you have to learn so many different things. So these new businesses primarily coming to the chamber wanted us to help with them with how do you get these things done? How do I do networking? How do I get inside of these markets? One of the big markets they were trying to get into was the black church. Black people in the church, black people putting a lot of money in the church, black preachers, black everybody thing in the church. But often you could have a business and be in the church, be tithing, and the church member across the aisle from you, upstairs or in another pew, he might be looking for a service that you have. But the church had not done a business directory of the members. So in order to really build these organizations, we have to first be able to identify who we are. What do you got? What are you selling? Who you want to sell it to? A lot of things go into your pricing, but one of the most important things about your business, once you get your product right, you got your service tightened right, you know what you're doing, you got to know what we call how to build a nest, how to build centers of influence, how to put your business in a place where it can be lucrative, it can thrive, not just survive. So when I got in tourism, I had no one to go to in Baltimore. There was no one in Baltimore in the early 90s who was doing African American heritage tours. There was no one I could reach out to. So what I did to build my nest, to build my centers of influence on my own dime, I traveled across the country in 1994, 1995, 1996, Portland, Oregon, Atlanta, Georgia, Columbus, Ohio, New York, any place I could go. Canada, I even went as far as Detroit, ended up in Canada, networking with brothers and sisters, trying to find how do you operate a niche business, African American tourism, in the big $700 billion tourism industry. In our state, tourism is an $18 billion tourism industry. In our city, it's about $6 billion. But the problem, there were no black millionaires. Why can you see billions of dollars coming through a city that's 60, 70% black, and blacks aren't really participating in making money in tourism? Of course, they got the jobs, they work in the hotel, they do sales, they're doing the customer service, they're doing, the job that you see when you go into these hotels, you see what people of color are doing. But the hotels are profiting through family reunions, black conferences, black meetings, weddings, everything we do. The hotel industry is a primary beneficiary of our dollars. So when you go to these hotels and you ask, what is your diversity plan? What is your give back to the city in which you're sitting in and you're making all these dollars? Particularly when you have, like we had in 2017, we had just had the Urban League conference the year before. Then we had the National NAACP. Then we had the American Tennis Association, black folks, the oldest tennis association in the world. And then we had the AFAs, and we just had big groups coming in town in 2017. And we made, not we, but the industry called tourism made a lot of money. So we have now begun to advocate to the industry to say, we know you're receiving a lot of money from black folks. What's your give back to the community in which you're doing your business? Very little. So what that took us to was going to the elected officials and saying to the city council people, the mayor, the state delegates, the state senators, many of them are African American, particularly in Baltimore, because most of our majority elected officials are African American here, particularly as the mayor, who is in charge of everything. And we began to point out the inequities that African Americans who are trying to be in the tourism industry was facing here. Eventually, we forced them to open up the tourism procurement to minorities and MBEs. At one time, our tourism agency would do a sole source no bid. Let's say they needed a marketing plan done or a survey done, and they're going to spend $100,000. But they would just pick up the phone and call one of their friends in the industry, primarily white folk, and give them the contract. Well, in 2007, I put a stop to that. I got my friends in the elected office to say, look, if this is a city agency spending city dollars, they have to be subject to the MBE procurement laws. So in 2007, for the first time in the city's history, they are forced to abide by the MBE, WBE procurement in Baltimore City. Our goal is 29, 30%. And so when you see contracts going out and they're going sole source, no bid, then minorities are left out. So part of the work that we have to do as small business persons, we have to be political, particularly in the city. Most of our cities that are dominated by African Americans, they have African American political leaders. Many of them have black mayors. And if in fact we don't go to that table after we vote, I know we voted and we did the right thing getting Trump out of there, but now is when the real work starts. Because we voted on November 3rd, hey, that was just half of the deal. The other half is making sure that public policy in the use of Black folks' taxes and Black folks' spending, there's a return on that money to us because we're supporting everybody. We're buying everything from everybody. You name a group, we shop. Asians, Greeks, Italians, Europeans, Caucasians. We go everywhere and spend our dollars. So we have to begin to look at what's our return on that dollar, particularly when it's a public dollar and you have African American elected officials having a little say-so over that. So as I moved into leading the Black Chamber of Commerce, one of the things I readily saw that Black businesses in a town like Baltimore, you're not going too far if you don't understand how politics is played here. For example, they're going to build a new hotel, but that's a big contract, particularly when the city is giving tips and pilots or tax incentives and tax breaks to get this economic engine built in your city. So we began to do what Mayor Jackson did down in Atlanta. Nothing gonna get built. Just like Marion Barry in Washington, D.C., the mayor there. He said, we ain't building none of this stuff unless Black folks get some money. So a part of what you do, you gotta do your business, you gotta do your plan, you gotta have all that together. But then you gotta know whether or not your business is impacted by public policy. And it surely is. Public policy sets your rates for business licenses. It sets the rates for your taxes. It sets the rates for the fees that you got to pay. So a lot of we found in Baltimore, as we begin to organize among ourselves, we still had that political barrier to carry and get over. So we began to become very political, write amendments to bills that was coming through. And I'll give you a classic example, good example. I believe in examples. This is something that happened in 2018 and 2019 in our city. There's something around the country that cities were trying to increase their tourism budgets. They got something called tourism improvement districts. And when they say the word district, it kind of throws you off because when we heard about it in Baltimore, it sounded like it was going to be a geographical area, a district. But actually what it meant was the city's tourism agency, in this case, Visit Baltimore, led by a Black man, mind you, wanted to increase the tourism marketing dollars. And they created this tourism improvement district and had to submit it to the city council and the mayor for approval. Now, what would this bill do? It was projected that this bill would produce $7 to $10 million in new money for the city for tourism marketing. We, those of us in my crew, we have been advocating for inclusion in the current budget that they was having, $13, $14 million budget. And we wanted a specific amount designated that we would know they would be spending on behalf of African Americans in tourism. Well, this new bill again was projected to generate $7 to $10 million. And so what I said to the tourism director, again, a Black man, and the mayor, a Black woman at the time, that we as African Americans in a Black city are really shut out, cut out, and left out of the city's $6 billion tourism industry. We have maybe 6, 7 different 8 pots of money that fuels or funds city tourism entities and city tourism marketing and city tourism this, that, and the other. And we as African Americans are cut out, are left out, and shut out of all those budgets, right? And so I've been painting their butt saying, look, this can't continue. And I created some things and made some things happen, and we got some improvement year after year. And when the new bill comes up, this Baltimore Tourism Improvement District, this is how public policy works. They had to go through the city council to get approval for what they wanted to do. And basically, they wanted to take the entire downtown area where the majority of the hotels are and create this tourism improvement district initiative. What it would do would create the $7 to $10 million of new money. And when I say new money, this is money not coming from the city, it's not coming from the hotels, it's what you call a pass through. And so next time when this COVID-19 clears up and you at a hotel and you get your bill, your checkout bill, start looking at the little add-ons they have. In this case, the add-on was a 2% per night per room. Sounds harmless, right? But when you're looking at 400,000 room nights and you add 2% of the rate per night for a whole year, that's where the $7 to $10 million come in. Now, mind you, I got to make this point. It did not come from the hotels. It did not come from the city. So what I did, I researched these tourism improvement districts, and I saw where in some cities they stated to the people who wanted the bill passed, if we create this new legislation, can we take some of it and fix this bridge that needs to be fixed? Can we take a few dollars here and do something like improve this lighting or this streetscape? Or can we do this? And some cities said, we will pass the legislation, but we want to earmark, if you will, we want to designate a certain percentage of the money to go to this project. So in Baltimore, I asked for a 7.3% amendment. And of course, the people behind the bill, which of course was my tourism agency, again, ran by a Black man, and the industry itself, they were not in favor of an African-American 7.3% set aside that would say out of the $7 or $10 million, 7.3% would go into African-American Tourism Development Fund. So small businesses like the Great Blacks and Wax Museum or Arena Players, the Art Social Club, or Welcome Blazers, these are African-American entities that want to be in tourism, but they don't have any funding support to market themselves and prepare themselves for the industry. So this new pot of money would be the first time in the city's history that we would have a designated funded source of funding for African American tourism initiatives, because it's going to be a part of the law. Well, if you look at $7 million, what's 7%? It's $490,000. Sounds like a small pot of money, but when you have a group of people who are already being left out and shut out of the African American dollars, they're coming in town, but they're spending the dollars in the inner harbor. They're spending the dollars in hotels that we own very few of. They're spending the dollars along Pratt Street at those fancy big name restaurants, where our small caterers, other restaurants, they can't afford the rent to be right downtown. They're uptown. And so I said to the mayor, I said to the city council, and I said to Visit Baltimore, let's put aside 7.3% of this new money, not coming from the city, not coming from the hotels. It's really coming from the consumer who stays in the hotel. He, she, you, me, we the ones who pay that. And it's almost 200 cities that have these deals now. And so when I proposed that, my opponent was the Black guy running the tourism agency who had just hired, paying him $300,000 a year. So I said, look, man, you got a good check, you good. But the rest of us, we looking to you as the leader, the new African-American leader of tourism for the city, making your $300,000. We looking for you to use your position so we can get a little something, something. Well, he was against it. Well, we didn't argue or fuss with him. I just went back to my African-American friends on the city council, one in particular, Mr. Leon Pink, and I said, Leon, they want you to sign off, and he's serving on the Taxation Economic Development Committee where the bill is assigned to. I said, look, if we're going to create $7 million of new money, why shouldn't there be a set aside for African American tourism? And so in Baltimore, a bill has to have a first reader one Monday night, then it has second reader about 2 weeks later, and then if it goes through that, gets all the amendments, all the city agency report on it, when the bill gets a third reader, you just about know it's going to pass. Well, in this case, my friends and I, we were able to stop that bill on third reader. Sort of shocked City Hall because they know third reader bills rarely get stopped. But because we had put so much pressure on the city council to say, if you're going to create new money, you can't keep leaving us out. So the bill was stopped dead in its tracks. Now the Visit Baltimore people got to meet with our city council person and negotiate a new deal to make it so that we would say, okay. And so what we got out of that, they agreed to create an African American tourism subcommittee. They agreed that they would work on our newly formed Black Arts and Entertainment District, support that. And they agreed to create and fund an African American Tourism Development Fund for the city of Baltimore. So my point is, we have to look at how do we use public policy in the African Americans that we do have in office often to direct dollars to us. We know that the large public contracts coming out of the federal government, your county governments, your city governments, is one way that some corporations, Black-owned contracting, construction companies can get job opportunities in the millions of dollars. So the question becomes, as we look around the country now at all these cities run by Black folks, Democrats, particularly Democrats, and then you got Black folks in these cities, hey, we screaming. We not only need police reform, but we need economic reform as well. We need equity. We need to be sure that we are being included so we can go uptown and we can hire more people. We can help keep our community safe. We can help keep little Johnny off the street because he can be in here doing work, learning a skill. We can do things if we are financed and subsidized, as many of your major buildings in your city, they're all subsidized by public taxpayers' dollars. And this is our leverage on that front. We have to be able to advocate for inclusion and economic parity, or we just have to stop some things and shut some people down. And so I think they got the message, because we were successful in getting our city agency to understand, if you're going to have new money in this city, we are here and we deserve whatever is our fair opportunities in that particular endeavor. And so that worked pretty well. In addition to what we were doing with the making sure that African Americans could be involved in the procurement side, we also had to advocate on the other side so that when new money came in, we would be a part of that. And that worked very well. And so in 2009, I had been with the Black Pages 3 years, and the Black Chamber of Commerce 3 years, and I had sort of set aside my business to make sure the chamber would not fall under. So I gave it 3 years. And then in my 4th year, I approached this. I said, no, it's time for me to go back to my business. And we got these young folks over here just itching to take charge and do some leadership. So I stepped aside, and then 2009, I went back to my tourism company, and lo and behold, a lot of my friends and associates from the Black Chamber began to call me. And they asked, Lewis, we now need a different type of organization. We need an organization that speaks to those of us who are past the how do we do stuff. We just need to know, how do we get more contracts? We got plenty of contacts. And so I formed my current organization, which is the BDX, which stands for Black Dollar Exchange. And I created it on December 29th, during Kwanzaa 2010. I created it in Little Italy, an Italian district for Italian restaurants. But they had one down there called The Corner, and it was owned by a Black man. And so we had our initial launch. Me and my partner sitting right here with me was there. He was there that day 10 years ago. Tyree Hudson, myself, and about 8 other brothers and sisters. We got together, we sit down, and we mapped out what would become, now 10 years old, the Black Dollar Exchange. And with the Black Dollar Exchange, I call it BDX, our objective is to connect Black business owners with customers who want to shop and buy Black. So we started that in 2010, and we began to have Dr. Eric Kelly of Black Business Expos, and just getting together, maybe 50, 60, 100 of us, and we have a few vendors showcasing their products. And much like what you're doing with your expo, we have some speakers talking about specific industries and aspects of doing business as a Black person in a city like Baltimore. And so eventually, we were able to get a radio show. And so BDX became BDX Live, a talk show in 2014. For 2 years, I hosted the show on the internet with a lady from Buzzing About Baltimore, internet-based show. Well, during the time I was doing that, my good friends over at the Radio One Kathy Hughes Network, they were calling me, Louis, why don't you come bring your show to Radio One? I said, look, I don't need to be coming in no studio. I'm sitting at home. It's Monday night. I come on 8 to 9 right before Monday Night Football. So I was good. But then in 2016, they made me an offer I could not refuse to become a part of the nation's oldest, biggest Black-owned radio company in the world. And that's the Kathy Hughes Radio One Urban One Network. You know Radio One, you know TV One, all that's owned by Sister Kathy Hughes. And so in Baltimore and other cities across the country, she has her stations. But in Baltimore City, she was downtown, then she moved right outside the city to county. She has 5 studios in one building. That's a gospel station, 2 gospel stations. She has 92Q, the hip hop. She has 95.9 and 1010, which is 24-hour talk. And so that's the show I went on, and I stayed there from 2016 until 2020 March. And when COVID broke out, I suspended my show. And during those years, though, from 2014 to 2020, in addition to the thousands of business owners I had met during my years with the Black Pages, during my years with the Black Chamber of Commerce, when I crafted the BDX Live talk show, 2 hours every Monday, we were able to bring in people who have small businesses, home-based businesses, nonprofit initiatives, and give time and space to people who you might not ordinarily see or hear. And so if you want to see some of those videos from the show, you can go to our website, which is bdxlive.biz, bdxlive.biz. And so recently we've changed the format on the website, but we still have the videos from some of the shows we did over the last 2 or 3 years. And you can see shows we did that brought in all kinds of business people, great products. I mean, just outstanding products. A lady in Prince George's County, she was making her own blend of coffee, owned by a Black lady, David and Stephanie Miller. Another fellow, he was bringing in his products for real-time pain relief. And I'm going to talk about Wanda Dunn. She was the director, and Wanda passed about 3 days ago, so I surely want to call her name out. But authors, I always have people with great books. That's one of my interests. I host every year for 6 years now the Langston Hughes Book Fair. But by having this radio format, I was able to give time to many small business persons who might not have gotten their topic, their product or service out to the greater marketplace. And so when COVID hit, okay, everything suspended, everything closed down, and we just suspended the show. But I got good news. Come Thursday, this coming Thursday, November the 12th, and every Thursday thereafter, we are relaunching our show, BDX Live, on the Zoom platform. The format will be different though, because what I do, I just study things. I look at what we're doing and how we talk a lot about Black Lives Matter, and now Black Dollars Matter, and Black businesses matter, and even white folks and others are saying we want to buy from Black folks. Well, okay. From my standpoint, it's been a lot of talk about that over my career, like 30 years now. But we have not been able to measure it and monitor it, even though my friends up in Chicago with Target Market News does a great job in terms of analyzing and showing you how we're spending our dollars, this 1.8 trillion. Well, I think one of the things facing us right now, as we try to move to more action and less talk, we need a marketplace. The Black business owner needs a marketplace. He needs to be where people can find him. She needs to be where people can find him. And so when you look at going to the mall, going to the script stores, the little markets up and down the streets here now, going into the Black man, Black woman's favorite place, going into Walmart. But whenever you go to those stores, shopping on Amazon, shopping on whatever you're doing, you're really going into their marketplace. And if we look around in our cities and we ask this question, in Baltimore, where is the Black business marketplace? In Washington, D.C., Chicago, where is the Black business marketplace? Now, we know up in Harlem, places like that, things are changing, so it's not what it used to be, all Black, because now everybody wants to come into U Street. Everybody wants to come into Lennox Avenue. Everybody wants to have a storefront. Everybody wants to have their CVS, their Walgreens, their Rite Aids in Black communities. One time they moved first before they could get away from us. But now they see that the African American community has this great buying power. So they're putting their marketplace right in front of you. So you can shop and buy. Everybody wants you to shop and buy. Everybody wants the Black consumers dollar because they know we are the number one consumer group in America. We buy everything and lots of it, not to mention all the things we shouldn't be buying. So what I'm doing on Thursday from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., I'm relaunching BDX Live on the Zoom platform, and it's going to be called the BDX Black Business Showcase and Marketplace, because we're going to have businesses on there who are showcasing their product, they're selling their product, and they're also giving you the website where you can buy right on the time they're on talking. So what we need is to get as many people into the marketplace. And the Black businesses are there. We are here. We just need more customers who will not only buy once, but come back, repeat customers. And not only give us an opportunity to fix something if we don't go right. You know how they always say Black businesses can't do this right. Well, same true for any race of company, any race of people. Not everything is always going to be perfect. But we have to be able to say, I'm trying to support my own people. That's the law of the land across the world. Everybody supports their own. We as people of color in America, we've been spread out so far. And our businesses are not necessarily right around the corner. So you might have to go a little further away from where you live to get to the Black restaurant or the Black place that has retail gifts. As we enter the holiday season, we know a lot of Black-owned businesses are home-based businesses, making their own products. During the holiday season, gift buying should start with Black-owned businesses. And if you can't find a product that you need, think about this. In your household, throughout the year, supporting Black institutions could be a Christmas gift. What do I mean by that? Across this country, we have many African American museums. Most of them are independent, non-funded. But how about a holiday gift that's a pass for a family of 4 or 5 or 6 to go into your museum when they reopen? Just think about how that would impact that Black museum. Because for the most part, Black museums struggle across this country. And who are the Black museums? They're the caretakers of our history. They're the ones that when you want your child to learn the truth, they go to the Black museum. So one of the gifts we could buy is memberships. Become a friend of that museum. Buy a day pass for some folks, even if you just gift it to someone else. Another thing we could do a lot more of, that we should do more than we've been doing. Across the country, independently owned Black bookstores are closing left and right. So during this holiday season, buy some books for some Black authors. That's a segment on our show. You're always going to talk about Black authors. In fact, get a little shameless plug in here. Here's one of my first books, the one I mentioned, the Baltimore African American Resource and Tourist Guide. It's out of print now, but I did this book in 1997. Then I came back in 2010 with my second book, and this is called Maryland Black Facts. I wrote it for Baltimore and Maryland children as a calendar book so they can learn more about our history, local history on their birthdays, okay? And my new book just recently come out. It's called Freedom Seekers. And this is on the Underground Railroad and abolitionists. So I guarantee you, man, ladies, gentlemen, if you say every month I'm gonna make a commitment of spending a certain amount of money with Black-owned businesses, I don't care if it's $50 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, and you start supporting our Black institutions, support and join the Black Chambers of Commerce. There's about 200 around the country. If you don't have one in your city, start one. When I was down in Durham, North Carolina, I went and found some Black businesses. Said, look, y'all got a Black chamber down here in Durham? You got a Black business directory or something here? These are the things makes it easier for the consumer to connect with the business owners if, in fact, they can find you. I talked to a brother today, Brother David Murphy. And every Tuesday night, he also has a call. Dave Murphy and Bill Gooden, they publish the National Black Unity News. And I was talking to, just talking today to a fellow named Joe Church, one of their supporters. I said, Brother Joe, we need to have a marketplace where people can find Black businesses. For example, when you come into Baltimore, and if you stay in a hotel in 21202 downtown, you'd have flew into BWI, you got the super shuttle to your hotel, and you're in 21201. But if you don't know where are the Black businesses in that zip code, it could be 2 blocks around the corner, but you're at the hotel. You go to the concierge. She's probably not even, you know, interested in the Black stuff in that city. And you ask her, where can I find an African American, this, that, or the other? They're not going to know. So one of the things we have to create is this knowledge base. And I was talking to Brother Joe Church. I said, Brother Joe, I'll tell you what we need in Baltimore. To create this marketplace where people can find, connect, patronize, and buy from Black businesses, we need to know the Black businesses by zip code. So if I come and visit you and I'm in zip code 23314, and somebody there can say, hey man, you looking for Black businesses? This is where you find them. Because we have a big problem with locating our own businesses. And so I am hopeful that our new Buy Black Thursdays, BDX Black Business Marketplace and Showcase, we're going to have opportunities to talk to brothers and sisters across this country. What are you selling? And hopefully we have an audience who will buy in real time. So that person now sees an impact. I'm sitting here thinking about it. I said, look, if you got 50 Black folks on a call, customers, and you got maybe 5, 6 Black businesses, well, those 50 Black businesses probably have a combined buying power, those 50 Black consumers, of over $2.5 million. And so you got a marketplace. And in the marketplace, you got the audience who has the commitment to buy Black. They have the buying power to buy Black. And now you're doing the matchmaking so they can buy Black right then and there. So on this coming Thursday, we're going to have a young lady named Fonette Brown. She has a entertainment business, and her product she's doing a skate party. It's called Skate Magic Weekend. 3 days of skating, roller skating in the Baltimore, Washington area. So her product is the tickets she's selling for that. So you guys like roller skating? Tune in Thursday her flying talk. And then we have Fran Allen, former Marine. Francine Allen, former Marine, 8 years. But she has a concept and a service called Self-Development Success. And she's published 3 or 4 books. So she'll be marketing her books. And then we have James Samuels. He has a Jamaican restaurant called Get It Into in Canton, right outside of Baltimore City. So we can have that brother on. And you can order his food. He can deliver it. And all this stuff that we can do on our own. And then we're going to have our special guest, which is a brother named Justin Adid. He's the top actor in Jamaica. He's going to be on the call with us. And Juliet Baylor from Florida will be doing his interview. And so I'm saying I create these things that I believe can touch people. It can move people. And I'm not talking about moving them 2 years from now. When we do the marketplace from 8 to 10 this Thursday, you'll be able to buy right then. And then we're going to continue to do that every Thursday and showcase the wonderful products and services that our businesses have across this country. And like Dr. Kelly said, people just don't know who they are, how to find them. Tell you a quick story. I was in a mall and they had 4 or 5 tables of African American women with products. You know, little tables set up in the mall, right? So I go to every last one of them and meet them all. But I met this one lady. She had a very nice little job with lotion. Her company is called Adorable Me. So I'm saying, okay, how did you come up with this idea for this cream? She says, my daughter has sickle cell anemia, and the pain can be very acute at times, very chronic pain. And she didn't know what to do for her little girl. She's taken her here, there, and everywhere to find some kind of solution to this pain caused by sickle cell anemia. So she began rubbing lotions on her daughter. and certain things she was able to put together, the lotions began to decrease her daughter's pain. So she started her company, Adorable Me, by utilizing her own hands, her own knowledge, something to help her daughter. Now she's marketing that product everywhere. These are the ways we create our own things in our own mind, our own creations. But she needs to have more people know that she has this product, and the marketplace is designed to do that. It may not be the answer to everything, but I just believe that the more we showcase our businesses and connect people who have the commitment to buy Black, we'll be able to have an impact and get beyond just saying we got $1.8 trillion. If we have $1.8 trillion and we give 1.7999 million of it to the Europeans or to the majority, we might as well say we ain't got no money. We're not finding ways to redirect our buying power. Because if we redirect our buying power, a lot of great things are going to happen for the Black community, particularly in the inner city. Another thing I wanted to talk about, we have a few moments left. I think it would be helpful to us if we began to look at how do we strengthen our organizations at the same time strengthening our individual businesses. So a part of that is we have to build alliances. Like when I formed the Black Chamber of Commerce, me and the 15 other people, that gave us a chance to align with others who thought like we thought. When we formed the Black Dollar Exchange, it gave us opportunity to meet other like-minded people. So a lot of things we're doing as business owners, sometimes you have to step outside of that and get into the marketing of your business, the branding of your business. Who do you know? Can you meet that becomes a person who sends you referrals? It's about relationships and partnerships. And I think going forward with this virus still raging across the country, we have to find ways to align with one another. And so I often get calls, such as the one I got from Dr. Rogers, to participate in this wonderful, wonderful week-long Black Business Expo and focusing on our entrepreneurship. But sometimes we have to go a step beyond. We have to say, how can I help the next sister or brother? And I think that's one of the issues we're facing now. As we've become more Americanized, if you will, we've gotten caught up in this race called life and survival. I got to get mine, you got to get yours. We've gotten caught up in that Western concept. But our African American concepts, we have looked at the work done by Dr. Ron Karinga when he talks about Janjuba, when he talks about the 7 principles of Kwanzaa.
Okay.
These principles, did you want to? Are you asking
No,
me?
I want you to finish the point, and I had a couple of questions on the way out as we exit. So I just want you to finish the point you're on, if you care to. If not, we can jump into some things.
Well, I'll finish it real quickly.
Okay.
When we look at the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, working together, unity, purpose, making sure we buying from each other. These are the things we have to do now, and we just have to do the right thing by each other. And I just want to thank you, Dr. D. I call you Dr. D. I just like Dr. D. I just want to thank you, man, for coming by the house here the other day and being able to share with us and fellowship with us, but then willingly giving me opportunity to share my thoughts. And this is what we got to do, man. We got to help each other.
Absolutely. Mr. Lou Fields, for everyone listening, is a powerhouse of Baltimore. When you go to Baltimore, you need to check in with him. His name is golden in that city. And to sit with him and to break bread is certainly an honor. Hey, Lou, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. Can I?
Yes, sir, please.
Number one, is the CIAA tournament still coming to Baltimore? How many years commitment have they made? How is Baltimore preparing?
Well, I tell you, they're coming.
Okay.
We have a 3-year contract.
Mm-hmm.
It's still up in the air as to what's going to happen in February. But the good news is, because they come in February, doing March Madness before it gets to back. But the good news is tomorrow morning, Visit Baltimore has a virtual town hall meeting to discuss that very topic. It's 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. But and we have it for 3 years. I was able to go to Charlotte in February this year. That's what's so amazing. I was in Charlotte the last 2 days of February, came home on March 1st. March 5th, COVID broke out. Think
Wow.
about a week earlier being in Charlotte with over 100,000 Black people.
Yes.
A week before COVID hit. So right now we are expressing concern, and the universities who make up the CIAA, for those who should know, is the central, the basketball tournament. And I don't know if they're going to be able to come in full force, because you're talking over 100,000 people when it's all 13 universities, the alumni, the fans, the students, the athletes. So I don't know if it'll be as big as we had hoped it would be. And I think the commissioner, Miss Jacqueline McWilliams, I think her name is, she's got to make that decision. I mean, if she comes, we're going to do what we can. But unfortunately, right now, Doc, the COVID is raging again.
Yes.
I
Yes.
thought that
So,
over the last 9 months, it may have been easing away. But no, the numbers are up. The increase in cases is up. And we have to be vigilant not to underestimate the damage it's still doing. This is December, and this is November, so I don't know if 2 months is going to be enough time for the CIAA to come to Baltimore full force. So I'm
got it.
thinking we got to wait and see tomorrow morning. We get more information.
Thank you. So, Lou, how can people reach out to you and be of support to your business there in Baltimore? Should they reach you through your
Man, let me
internet
tell you how they can reach
show?
me. Hold on, man. I ain't that kind of guy. This is how they can reach me. They just cash app LCFBDX. Just cash app me. You reach me there for sure.
Hey,
I
man, I just
respond
heard
to
some
Cash App.
problems. I just heard about some problems with Cash App today, brother.
All right, but then
So,
I got up there going PayPal.
what's the PayPal?
Man, I know I'm just joking with you, man. Look, folks can find Lou Fields. All you gotta do is put my name in the internet, it'll come up. But I'm at 443-983-7974. Our website is bdxlive.biz. But come Thursday night, Zoom
BDXlive.biz.
me. We'll be on Zoom Thursday night, 8 p.m. Crank it.
Got it. So maybe you'll send the connection out to Mr. Kelly. I think this will still be live on Thursday night, but ideally he can mail it out to the crew, and those who want to double duty there with two computers can do so.
This is what we should do. We should give Brother Kelly the invitation to be on the relaunch show Thursday if he can make it. If not, he'll do the next Thursday. But I'll put some time aside. Be glad to have him, man.
We'll make that happen this Thursday. I know he's knee deep in his own programming, but next Thursday sounds beautiful.
Yeah, because I like
another question
Okay,
before we exit here, and he's going to join us shortly because we're at 7:51. The next speaker is 8 o'clock. We're going to have a couple of minutes of transition for them. You spoke earlier, and you mentioned the name Maynard Jackson, and you mentioned the name Marion Barry. You and I had a great conversation about how Marion Barry changed the economics of the middle class of Washington, D.C., and of the wealthy class in Washington, D.C. for Black folks. Could you just speak to that quickly in about 2 minutes?
Yes, sir. First, Mayor Jackson said in Atlanta, we ain't building no airport without Black folks getting paid. That was Hartsfield, Atlanta. In Washington, D.C., I went to Marion Barry's funeral, right? And I was so impressed at how many brothers, like Don Peoples and others, who stood up as millionaires and said Marion Barry was the one who made it happen. So that's what I was talking a little bit about, how we have to work with our elected officials and deal with public policy, because I'm telling you, man, through public policy, you can create some millionaires.
Right.
So
break that.
When we look around in my city, for example, we've had 24 years of the last 30 been Black mayors.
Okay.
So the question becomes, how many Black millionaires they done made in them 24 years?
Speak on that, Lou. I mean, I like to touch on toes. So with all those Black mayors running through Baltimore, there are other cities like Durham, North Carolina, where we've had Black mayors. Speak on how Black mayors can be a part of creating Black millionaires, would you?
Okay, here's the key. Let's say, for example, the city needs to create a new department of IT.
Yes.
To handle their little telephone systems and computer systems. And they come up with a grant, not a grant, but a contract, a request for proposal. It's $60 million.
Right.
Okay. Now the prime may not be Black who get that $60 million contract, but we have a 30% MBE/WBE procurement law. So what's 30% of 60 million?
30% of 60 million. I'm gonna kick it off at 33%, 20 million, somewhere in the neighborhood of 18 million.
That's how you make millionaires, my brother.
Got it. So let me ask you another question, Lou, because I love math. Let's do another question. Let's say quality of life, business owners need to earn to sustain themselves 50K, and then with their benefits package of 75K annual salary, right? We may round that out to 60K, but let's just say these numbers. So then, regardless of the business that the owner is in, whether they're selling widgets, whether they're hair care, whether they're in the branding business for technology, what type of math needs to happen for that business owner to generate enough revenue to maintain their business and to have a quality of life where they themselves are earning somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 to 75K, including insurance and medical, dental, and all the other elements?
Quickly, a survey a few years ago stated that the average Black business person earns anywhere between $40,000 and $50,000, which is that's employee wages.
Yes.
Most people who are employees make that. So the
Come
only
on.
way you're gonna make more money and add more zeros, you gotta decrease your expenses, you gotta increase your sales, and you gotta move to the big fish. Like me, I live on what's called bread and butter. That's a small case. You make a couple $100. But
Right.
every now and then I gotta have a job I make $20,000. You see? If you don't go after the big fish or prepare yourself to be in that water, you'll never get to that income level. So if you're making these widgets and gadgets, you got to make them better. You got to be able to deliver them to the marketplace faster. And you got to establish a number one reputation for integrity.
Integrity.
This is how I tell you this while I end with this. Mr. Haysberg said 3 levels. It's entry, where people become aware of you. It's appreciation, where they begin to appreciate you. Then it's becoming the preferred vendor. When your phone is ringing all day and you ain't got to do nothing but still ringing. Off the hook.
So let me ask one more question.
We got to lock hands and lock arms. Go ahead, brother.
That's where I want to go. It's 7:56. We got about a minute and a half to wrap up. I want to ask you this question. So in order to catch the whales, right? When we go whale hunting, how do we need to move as a group? Your business does X, my business does Y. I'm an accountant, you're a lawyer. How do we need to team up as Black business owners in order to go out and catch these whales with all these zeros on them in these contracts you're speaking of?
That's been one of the barriers we have yet to overcome. It's called joint venturing, where there's a business opportunity that's bigger than I can handle. But me and you and somebody else, we can go after that, because a lot of times the big deals require capacity, and you may not be able to do it by yourself. So we want to do more of that, but we just got to learn how to trust each other and how to work together. These are some elements that we have to dispel as the myths that we can't do. But we know this. Here's the point. Without Black people support, Black businesses would be dead in the water.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening,
Great.
good evening.
Thank
Hey
you,
guys.
Lou. Next time we talk, we're gonna talk whale hunting, and we're gonna up and do some business together. And we're joined now by Dr. Eric Kelly for making this happen. Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Lou, how can people reach you again? And we look forward to working with you.
Well, I'm easy to reach, but Thursday night Zoom, the marketplace, that's where you're gonna find me at.
Well, I think you're doing an outstanding job. I want to thank you for being on the event this year. And, you know, I got to go. I got my coat on because after the next person goes on, I got to get out of here and go to a meeting where I got to have a mask on just to talk to people who have money that are talking about supporting our kids. You know, the laptop computers and the funds that we raise is what it's all about. And so, Lou, I heard you talk about Thursday this week. Can't do Thursday this week, but what I will do is maybe a couple of weeks down, because I know you plan your schedule. I'll give you a call and let you know which will be the best day for me to come by and share with you guys. Because again, I am looking to build an ecosystem across the entire globe, not just in little pockets. And I think we can do that by utilizing, you know, the apparatuses that we're utilizing tonight. And I think everybody's been sold on paying for Zoom and paying for this and paying for that. And here we sit and it's all free. We just have to pay for human capital. And so, with that being said, thank you so very much. Is there anything you'd like to say before you get out of here?
Yes, God is good, and He will stand with black people as long as we keep standing with Him.
That's right. Thank you so very much. And we're going to get out of here. Thank you, Lou. And look forward to seeing you and talking to you and communicating with you in your group. And I better put this in here before I go. When you do your black business marketplace or what you get ready to do for next year, give me a call so I can see if I can share you some information or some ideas to expand it right there in Baltimore for you. You know,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I've been doing this thing for almost 40 years,
I'm with you,
and
Doc.
I might have one or two tricks to share with you. I might have one or two ideas to share with you so that we can do better. But thanks again. And now we moving on to Mia Lamont. How do you say your name?
You said it right.
Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. You know, I was in Spanish and I knew one Spanish word, and my Spanish teacher, when I got my D, she said, at least you knew one word. And you know what that word was?
Hola.
Pepe. Pepe. that, that was my name. Only Spanish word I knew was my name. But anyway, thank you for coming. We look forward to your presentation. And as always, I try to get in and get out and try to start on time. It's 8 o'clock on the dot. Again, thank you. And to Jimmy, thank you, Jimmy, for everything that you do in the mastermind group. And we're going to let you do what you do. And we'll get back with you later on in the week, okay?
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, guys. I am Mia Lamont, and my last name is French, not Spanish. So just a little bit of history there. I'm originally from Louisiana, and now I live in North Carolina. And yeah, I'm here to get in some good trouble. What about you guys? This is going to be super interactive, so I definitely want to see some comments coming across the screen, because I don't want to talk at you guys. I want you guys to be participants in this actual presentation. And I definitely want to talk about some of the things that Mr. Lou Fields was talking about, because he's so right about the money and how we get to keep the money in our communities. We need to be spending it with each other. And we need to get into those rooms where all of the money is. And if we can't present ourselves in a way where we stand out in a way that compels people to work with us, then we're dead in the water. So we won't be catching any whales. We're going to be floating on top of the water. So that's what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about branding and how you can make an impact with your branding and why you need to be disrupting in order to get noticed. All right. So why am I qualified to talk to you about this? I am a trained image consultant, brand strategist, and transformation coach. I made my transition from being an employee to an entrepreneur 11 years ago and full-time. And yes, absolutely. And we'll talk about that at IBM TV Official in 1 second. I actually had I was working full-time, and I had a part-time business. And then I was like, you know what? I am not going to make any money doing this half-ass or half time. So I needed to get into the habit of changing my mindset. As an entrepreneur, I've learned that my mindset as an employee was very different than the mindset of a business owner or an entrepreneur. So that's the first thing that I had to change in order to grow into my brand. So I'm going to answer this question here. Such a fan of Good Trouble. How much did John Lewis inspire you? And what did you think of her, Kamala Harris, following in this tradition? I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing what's happening in the world today. And I think it's because people are willing to put themselves out there. They're willing to take charge and actually be themselves. Like, this is where branding is going. Branding is not going to be about showing up as some version of what somebody told you should be. It's showing up as yourself and really standing up for what you believe is right. And that's what I think where branding is going to go in the next, it's actually in that direction now, but in the next 5 to 10 years, we won't be talking about people fitting into boxes. So that's what I want to talk to you guys about. So I'm so glad we all are brands. Absolutely. And you want to be memorable, right? You want to be memorable like John Lewis, then you have to make good trouble. You have to start disrupting things. So when I'm talking about disruption, I am talking about disruption of the status quo. Our election this past week is a disruption of the status quo. We have our first female, we have our first African American, we have our first Asian American, and she's also an HBCU graduate, right? There's so many things so many firsts that she is, that because she stood out in California as a senator, she was able to propel herself to this. Because she was willing to take a chance to become president, even though, it was short-lived, here she is, vice president elect. So a lot to say about all of that. But really, I want to talk to you guys about 5 reasons why you should be disrupting and getting into good trouble. Now, it doesn't matter what your industry is. It doesn't matter what kind of work you do. We're all walking brands, right? Dr. Kelly just said that. He said we're all brands. And even if you own a brick and mortar, so let's just talk about companies that have a brick and mortar. That brand is very much associated with the CEO. It doesn't matter who it is, right? So let's think about, what is the biggest brand on the planet right now? Amazon. So who do you think about? You think about Jeff Bezos and all of the billions that he has. And why is that? Jeff Bezos was willing to put himself out there, and he's willing to, now he's a monopoly, right? But in the beginning, he was willing to put himself out there. He had a dream and he went for it. And people didn't get it, but it was so innovative and it was so cutting edge that now he's basically ruling the marketplace when it comes to online delivery and lots of other things. So I want you to think about yourself as that, right? We're all creators. We're all creative. And when we get into the acceptance of that, that's when we're able to create brands that compel people to work with us. What do I mean by that, right? I mean that your brand stands out. Your brand is who you are. So your brand is a sum of your appearance. So how you dress, how you show up is always part of your brand. The way you behave. So how do you interact with people? But how do you have yourself? How do you think of yourself? You show up that way with your brand. How you communicate. Do you communicate via text? Do you communicate via phone? Do you communicate via email? And do you get your point across to people when you're communicating with them? This is so important when it comes to your brand and to your branding and to your messaging. So you want to make sure that all of that is congruent, right? The other part of your brand is what does your online presence look like, right? What is your online presence like? Are you on the social media channels? Have you created your own social media channel? What about your website? Does it say exactly what you do? Does it clearly communicate the value, and does it clearly communicate who you are as a business or as a person? And does it compel people to want to work with you? That's a question for someone. Do you guys have that clearly communicated? In the way you dress, the way you speak, your online presence, how you have yourself? Is all of that congruent? Okay, no one's here with me? No one's commenting? All right, we're gonna keep on going. All right, so you can only create a brand from a place that you've lived, right? Remember I said that I used to work in state government and now I'm an entrepreneur, and my experiences are part of my brand. And so one of the things that you want to do, the first reason why you want to be disruptive as a brand is that you get to stand out among your peers. So why would somebody choose me over the next branding person, right? because I am disrupting things. I am doing things in an innovative way that other people are not. Most people who work on brands or on businesses, they're not transformation coaches, nor do they have an image consulting background, right? So there's so many phases of a person's brand that I can help them with that other people might not be able to do that. I do believe that people can be too crowded in their online presence. And when you say crowded in their online presence, do you mean have too much going on in their? Oh, yes, we'll definitely talk about that. Too crowded in their online presence, meaning they're on too many social media channels. Absolutely. Like, I feel like you need to master 1 to 2 of these channels. You don't need to be on all of them. Go where your people are and master those channels. People using branding tools from other target markets. So adults using TikTok. I'm okay with an adult using TikTok if TikTok is part of their brand, right? You won't see me on TikTok. I'm not going to do the whole coach thing where they're like pointing to the words and they're doing these little dances. And for me, that doesn't work. Like, it doesn't feel authentic. And I think that might be what you're getting at. Like, it's not authentic just to be on TikTok for the sake of being on TikTok, right? You have to be where your people are. And if you're not where your people are, then you're wasting your time. And it actually waters down your brand when you're on all these social media channels and you're not really participating in them. So I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, please put it in the chat. So you want to stand out among your peers, you got to get really good at being you, right? The second reason why is because you can be considered a thought leader. Who are the thought leaders of our time right now? Who are the people that are making huge impacts because they're thinking differently and they're not afraid to speak out? That's the big part about being a thought leader. A lot of people say they want to be thought leaders, but they're afraid to get visible. They're afraid to say who they are. They're afraid to say what they feel. They're afraid to stand out. And you can't be a thought leader if you're afraid to do that. Okay? So that's another reason why you want to disrupt. You want to be considered a thought leader. Thought leaders get money from banks. Thought leaders get recognized in magazines. So they get the articles written about them, or they get to write the articles. They get the television shows. If you want to get on somebody's television show or be interviewed, like thought leaders, that's who's getting interviewed. People who are doing things differently and getting attention, and not for the wrong reasons. They're getting attention because they're doing something and they're making an impact in the world or for their community. The third reason, you get to use your creativity to think outside the box. Remember, I talked about earlier about being innovative. We all have that muscle. A lot of us don't use it. We feel like we don't have the creativity muscle, or we feel like somebody else has done it, or we don't have the tools, or we're not equipped. Like, stop saying that to yourself, right? If you're made in the image and likeness of God, you're a creator. And if he created this, then guess what you can create? So stop selling yourself short when it comes to being innovative. And how do you change the marketplace? Right now, like, Black people are doing everything they can to change everything that is happening in the world. We're done with status quo. We're done with settling. And right now we're living into the legacy that is ours. And it's time for us to take that. And if we don't get innovative about how we're going to do that, we're going to find ourselves in this same position again. What does it mean to be an influencer? Can you be a regional influence? And how does one monetize that skill? Great question. So to be an influencer means that people are looking at you as an influencer. They're looking to you to either tell them what to buy, tell them what to do, or to just be in your space because they want to follow you and they want to emulate you. And yes, you can be a regional influencer. I'm trying to think of, I don't know, anybody who is from this area. I think that we all know Ryan Ray because that's the person that connects us all. And I would say Ryan is a regional influencer. right? I would say that he's an influencer in this space. And you monetize that skill by one of the things that Mr. Lou Fields talked about, venture partnerships, right? Ryan and I leverage our relationship all the time. So we leverage that influence that he has. I leverage it, and so does he. You also get to have people sponsor you. So if you are an influencer or you are a thought leader, there are some people who will want you to collaborate with them. Brands that want you to wear their stuff, people who will send you content, or people who will send you money to model things for them. That's how you monetize the brand. You can also get them to sponsor some things for you. So if you have a podcast, let's just say you have a podcast and it's about all things technical. Maybe you can get somebody like Kajabi to sponsor you, somebody like IBM, somebody like Microsoft. It really just depends on your lane. And if you're doing the stuff that gets their attention, they are going to seek you out. They're going to want to collaborate with you because they know that you have influence. And typically an influencer has, when we're talking about the social media realm, they typically have a lot of followers. They typically have at least 10,000 followers on Instagram. And like that's the metric, but it doesn't really mean that people are an influencer if they have that many. And it doesn't mean that you're not an influencer if you don't have that many. So I hope that answers your question about that. All right. All right. So number 3, get creative. Use your creativity to think outside the box. So I don't know if you guys heard anything about the Facebook ads. I don't know if you're familiar with working with them. But there's a time when Facebook decides that they don't want to promote your stuff for you. And so I know somebody who decided to create their own community. And they created their own community because they did not want to be at the whim of Facebook. So that's what I mean by being innovative. Like, think about what it is that you want for yourself and go out and create it. That's how you get innovative. And then take it a step further. You can't just do what's already been done. Take it a step further. Like, there's so many things about Facebook that we can improve upon. How would you do that? And go for it. I know you might not have Facebook money, but you really have to start thinking like that. Like, will you want to be able to do the things that will get you noticed? And that's how you get the money to create things like that. What are the negative parts of being an influencer? I've heard of MLMs wanting to use influencer connections. So negative part of influencers, I would say, is the whole celebrity thing, right? There's so many people out there that we follow because they're celebrities. And I would say that's probably one of the negative things. You won't have a whole lot of privacy. The other part is that you can become one of those people that, people are like, oh, they just promote anything. And then they stop listening to you. So that's another reason why you want to protect your brand and make sure that whatever it is that you decide to align yourself with is aligned with your values. Same thing with venture partnerships. If you don't align with values with the person that you're partnering with, it's going to be a bad deal the whole way along. MLMs wanting to use the influencer connections. MLMs have their own influencers. And I believe that if you think about Mary Kay, there's some women right here in the Raleigh area that are doing an amazing job with that. And they have a huge following. So I think it really just depends on the brand. And I think that MLMs have their own influencers. And they typically don't stray far from the brand. And if they do, it's going to be more like a brand partnership. And those brands are aligned. All right, guys. So another reason you want to do this is that you get to make money, and you get to make a lot of money. So when you have your own legacy, when you have your own brand that's super impactful, you begin to make a lot more money. Like we were just talking about how you can make money from being a sponsor, for having sponsorships, for companies that want you to create things with them. That's how you make money, by being a thought leader or slash influencer, because they're really the same thing in certain contexts. And then the final reason why you want to become a disruptor is that you get to change the world. You get to change the world. You get to change your community. You get to impact people's lives. And if you're not up to something like that, then what are you in business for, right? When you start a business, you're able to employ someone or a community. You're able to buy a building in an area. You're able to pay taxes, local taxes, state taxes, government taxes. So your reach is so much further when you become a business owner, when you become a thought leader, when you become a memorable brand. You're able to impact the lives of others. So that's the biggest reason to create a brand. And that's the biggest reason you want to stand out and create a legacy for yourself and for the community that you live in. So I thought this was a 20-minute exercise. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take some questions from the rest of the viewers here, because I know that you guys have some. And then I'll also chime in. So I want to go back to one of the things that Mr. Fields was talking about earlier. He was talking about how somebody asked him, how much money do you really need to have in order to create a business and sustain yourself? I think as entrepreneurs, I think a minimum of $150,000. Like, that's the minimum, because you cannot scale your business and you cannot grow your business if you don't have a staff. And if you haven't taken your stuff and systematized it. So if you haven't been able to do that, you are not going to be able to scale. So what's the point in being in business if you're not going to be able to do that? Do you want to just make a living wage? If you want to make a living wage, you may as well have a job, because if you don't, I mean, you have a really bad boss. Do you think you can be an entrepreneur and not have a brand? No. If you're an entrepreneur, you're already the brand. If you're buying houses, if you're flipping houses, if you have a brick and mortar, you're still the brand. People think of you when they think of that business. So absolutely, you must have a brand. You already have one. It's you. You are the brand, right? So everything I said about the way you dress, the way you talk, the way you appear online, all of that's part of your brand. So if you're an entrepreneur and you want to be unknown, why be an entrepreneur? Just go work for somebody. Like, honestly. Oh, this is a good question. Nonprofits, well, it depends. Nonprofits, there are some nonprofits out there. Here in the Raleigh market, there is a nonprofit called Interact. And I think they do a really great job of branding themselves. Dress for Success, they do an amazing job of branding themselves. I'm trying to think of another nonprofit that does a great job. I can't think of another one right now. And then cultural institutions. Tell me more about cultural institutions. Who do you mean by that? Like, give me an example of who you mean when you say cultural institutions. Guys, I think that people do a good job of branding when they stand for something. Like, you have to stand for something. You have to be willing to repel certain people in order to attract the right people. You can have an audience of everyone, but everyone is not going to love you. Everyone is not going to want to be part of your team. Everybody's not going to be part of your squad. So even if you don't use the word squad, right? Or if you don't like the word squad, you might not even want to be listening to me. So that's the point, right? You want to repel all of the wrong people so that you attract the right people to you. Symphonies, theaters, art organizations in our area. I would say the DPAC does a really good job of branding. They're a community organization. They give back to the community, and they also bring really great concerts that the community wants to see and theater. So I would say DPAC does. I wish that I knew what you were talking about, theater in the park. I don't live in Durham, so I'm not really sure about that one. Um, I know the North Carolina Museum of Art, they've done some stuff at the amphitheater they've been amazing. I went to a couple concerts there. I haven't seen one of the movies. I think they've done some movies there too. But that's the point, right? If we're still talking about it, then yes, they did a great job of branding. If you showed up, they did a great job of branding. If you bought a ticket from them, they did a great job of branding. So if you knew about it, right? If people knew it was going on, if people knew it was happening and they bought from you, then you did an amazing job of branding. If they continue to buy from you, you're doing an awesome job at delivery. So that's what you want to think about. If people don't know who you are, you cannot make an impact. You cannot sell anything. So you want to make sure that that's how your brand is showing up. Ooh, this is a good question. COVID, how has COVID impacted branding? I think COVID has had us step it up. We've had to become super innovative about how we're going to show up online, right? See my little set behind me? How, like a lot of people are talking about getting dressed like from the bottom down or from the top up, waist up. And, while it has its implications, because a lot of people have been caught, right? A lot of people have stood up and they have been seen. So the thing about it is, guys, like you have to be authentic. You got to be yourself. You got to show up as yourself, but you also want to respect the people that you are working with. So COVID, I would say, has had us all pivot, right? You heard everybody talking about pivot, 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 pivot. From March to May, that was all I heard. And the pivot is just that. Like, how do you brand yourself? How do you stay relevant when people can't see you? You got to get online. So even if you've never had any part of your business online, you do now, right? And if you don't, you're probably not in business anymore. So all of us have got to have some kind of online presence in order to stay relevant in this time and probably way beyond. So I think COVID has actually impacted branding to let everybody know that they should have some kind of online presence. What advice would you give to young people that want to be an influencer? So, first of all, I would say, why do you want to be an influencer? Are you attracted to the star look like lifestyle? Like, make sure that that's not the reason you want to do it. You want to be grounded in who you are and what your message is before trying to become an influencer. If you're just out there trying to get somebody to pick up because you think you look cute, right? It's not really a reason to be an influencer. Like, be about something. Be about creating some kind of change in the world. And I think that would go a whole lot further than you trying to become an influencer. Try to become a change maker. That's the advice I would have for young folks. Okay. Oh, hello. Yes, absolutely. I was going to talk about him. So let's talk about the occupant of the White House, right? So his brand is strong, right? It has repelled the wrong people, right? Repelled the wrong people and attracted the right people to him. That's exactly what you want your branding to do. Because now we know the kind of person he is. And because he's so grounded in who he is, and we're not going to get into his character and all of that, but because he's so grounded in who he is, and his followers are so loyal because they like that. They like that about him. They like the fact that he will say whatever he wants to say. He's also disrupting, right? He's disrupting in an actual destructive kind of way. That's not the disruption that I'm talking about that we all do, right? But if you think about his brand is absolutely strong. And it has been. I'm not going to say to create a brand like that, but, and I wouldn't say that he's overbranded. I would say that he is, what's the word that I would use? I would say that his brand, like he's oversaturated the marketplace. Like for people who, let me speak for myself, for people like me who he has repelled, right? For somebody who does not even want, I don't even want to listen to him speak. For me, it's more about like, he's not for me. That's what I know. He's not for me. And that's what you want people to know about you and your brand, because everybody's not going to like you, and it's okay. But don't be disruptive to be destructive. Be disrupted to make a change in the world so it's a better place for all of us, not just for a few. I hope that answers your question. Yeah, I was definitely going to, I've talked about him a couple times, and I get dead silent, so I'm glad that it's sort of like little participation over here. And think about it. So when you think about him, you have a visceral reaction. You either love him or you hate him. And that's really what you want people to do with you. You don't want people to be on the fence about working with you. You want people to want to work with you, or you want them to just go and work with somebody else. That way you don't have people that are around you that don't love, that will not take your name and say it in the right places. That's why you want to create a strong brand. Why do I do my job? Oh, great questions. So I do this work because I hired an image consultant for myself when I first started doing image consulting work. And I thought it all had to do with the logo, the look, what do I wear? How do I show up? How do I get to be appropriate? And what I realized is that through that process, I really didn't know myself very well. And I decided that there were probably a lot of other people who didn't know themselves well. And so I flipped the script on the way that I do this process. And I do this because I don't want anybody else walking through the world not knowing who they are and not how they want to make an impact in the world. I worked for state government for over 20 something years before I decided to leave. And I could have waited another 7 years or so to retire and do all of that, but it was killing my soul to do so. And I do this work because I don't want anybody else to go through that. I don't want anybody else to be lost about who they are and what their life's purpose is. And that's the reason why I do this work. People can find me online. So Facebook, Mia Lamont Image, same thing for Instagram. And my website is mialamont.com. So that's MIA. Oh, it's right there on the screen. So mialamont.com. Bumper sticker approach to branding, the quick statement that makes you recognizable. I don't know how I feel about that. Because one of my strengths, and I advise everybody to go and do this assessment, is Clifton Strengths by Gallup, Clifton 34. One of my strengths is relationship building. And for me, I don't do quick. I do more of a deep dive with people, and I want to really get to know them, and I want them to get to really know me. And so sometimes that quick bumper sticker approach to branding is not the thing, right? You want people to recognize you because of the way that you make them feel. And I do believe that some people can come up with some really great, some great things that you can say, right? One of my coaches said, I help people to be seen the way they want to be seen. And that's true, but it's so much deeper than that. So I don't really use that because it's not super clever. It's not memorable. And it doesn't speak to the depth of the work that I work at, the work that I do with my clients. So that's the reason why I don't use it, but it is like partly accurate. So I think if you can come up with something super clever, go for it. Like Amazon, A to Z. We deliver everything from A to Z. Brilliant. right? Who are the influencers that have influenced me? Whew, this is a good one. I love Ayanna Van Zant. Like her, the way that she talks to people, the way that she goes in deep with folks when it comes to transforming from the inside out. Love that about her. I love Chrissy Teigen because she's unapologetic about who she is. She doesn't care if you like it, and she hates Donald Trump like with the utmost disrespect, and I'm here for all of that. And I love her unapologeticness. And I would also say, hmm, who else has influenced me? Rachel Rogers. So I don't know if you guys know who she is. She's in the coaching community world. She called out a coach who had done some things that happened after George Floyd's death. And like it was so raw and it was so real. And I love the way that she just stood up for what she believed in. And she had me sold like at day one. It didn't matter how she showed up because what she was saying was so much from the heart and you could tell. And because it was so vulnerable and because it was so raw, it felt like I need to know this woman. So I would say her too. And she's local. Local to the North Carolina area. As an influence, what are some of the positive thoughts you would like to share with our audience? Positive thoughts. Guys, this whole game is 95% mindset, 5% strategy. So work on your mindset every single day. That means whenever somebody's telling you that you can't do something, like you need to go out and do it. You get to read every day. Like build the entrepreneurial mindset. Get a mastermind partner, get a coach, get somebody that's going to keep you accountable. And like that's what I would tell you to do. Like go and build your mindset. It is the most important thing that can make or break you because self-doubt is the one thing that stops all entrepreneurs. And if you're not building your mindset daily, the self-doubt will creep in like nobody's business. Yeah.
Hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
I'm
How you
well.
doing? Huh?
I
I
said I'm
didn't hear.
well.
Well, you did a great job. Did a great job. I had one question. I know you. You know, I heard you when you said that you was French. When I got off, you were Spanish, right? And then you say you was from New Orleans, right?
Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge. Okay, I was down in New Orleans. I got evacuated with Katrina. I mean,
You
I
live
was
in Boston?
I was living there for about 6 months, and I was down there working at Harris. I was doing the advertising and marketing for Harris Casino down there. I had this friend of mine who was a comedian, and he was a headliner down there, and he had me to come down and do all this advertising and everything, and we was doing so well because they didn't know. This is what happened. They didn't know who he was. He went down there to do a customer appreciation banquet, right? And so he gets down there. He's a worldwide guy, but he goes down there. He does the appreciation thing, right? And this is what I say to people a lot of time about business and thinking quick. You got to listen and don't start talking. You got to listen and think. So the entertainment director for Harris was in the audience. And so his name is James Stevens III. He was the guy that spoke at our show last year. And so the entertainment director asked him, said, "Hey, do you have I like what you're doing. We have a space, we have a theater here, and we'd love to have you here." And say, "Do you have a band?" And so James said, "Yes, I have a band," because he does the kind of show like with Frank Sinatra, all that kind of stuff. and he does all of their voices, impressionists. He plays the piano. He plays about 7 instruments. So he's an entertainer, comedian, right? And so he said, "Yes, I do." The boy did not have a band. So what he did was, after he said he had a band, he got the contract. He got I think it was like 1,400,000. Because we was making a kill. I got to admit, it was the best time of my life. I was making a lot of money.
New Orleans is
Oh, the best food in the world. People could say, I have been all across this country, and I'm gonna tell you, they got and I'm a vegetarian, okay, and I finally went all the way. When I left New Orleans, I went all the way with no meat because I was doing fish, and they was killing me down there. And so once he got the gig, right, then what he did was he told the guy, he said, well, you know what I think I'm gonna do, because it's probably gonna cost me too much to bring my own band down here. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna come down, and the week before the show I'll just have open auditions, because you got musicians down there everywhere. I mean,
everywhere.
everywhere, everybody, dad and mom, and sister, brother can play something. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so we went down there and we did the auditions, right? And so I flew down there. I'm just chilling because I'm just going because I'm his best friend and I do advertising and stuff for him anyway. And so I'm just going with him because this is a free trip. We
Right.
get down there for a week. He does the audition. He sets his band up and everything. And so I'm getting ready to get on. I'm saying, yo, James, I'll see you later, man. He said, wait a minute, where you going? I said, I'm going back to Durham. I said, I got a company to run. He said, look, man. He said, I will pay you 10 grand a week to stay. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking to myself, I said, well, you know what? I got my computer. Look. I got my computer down here, I got my telephone, and if they need me for a meeting particular, I can get on the plane. Because, if you're at the casino, they got everything. You can catch a plane and go out anytime. I said, I can catch the plane and go back. And so I said, well, how long we going to be here? He said, well, we'll probably be here a year. I said, well, I'll do a couple of months to see how it works. So 1 month went to 2 months. 2 months went to 3 months. 3 months went to 6 months. And what happened? Yeah, what happened on the 5th month is what really got us kicked out, because people don't remember the biggest hurricane that was supposed to hit the East Coast was going to hit New Orleans. And what happened the month before, about 1 million people got up and left. And now my stupid mind, not knowing what this was all about, me and James, we stayed, right? And so the hurricane turned. So when Katrina came, this is what people don't realize. When Katrina came, everybody was like, everybody poor. We just left last month. We spent all our money, and then the hurricane turned, and that happens from time to time. So everybody thought it was going to turn. Well, it did turn. Sunday morning, when Ray Hagan said it was mandatory, that's when we left. We left Sunday morning. The wind was blowing. The water was coming. We got out of New Orleans just in time. It took us 8 hours to drive from New Orleans to Baton Rouge.
I know.
Man,
I was there. I was in that then, and I remember. I couldn't even get on the
I didn't. What'd you say?
I couldn't even get on the interstate. Like, we couldn't go with work. Anything. Traffic and
Nothing. And look, when we got to Shreveport, okay, when we finally got to Shreveport and we got a hotel room in Shreveport, right? Then I was looking at TV and they were showing me what hurricanes could do, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" Then that man came on and said, "Well, this is a cup, and New Orleans sits at the bottom of the cup. This at the top of the cup is sea level." And I'm like, I'm standing on the Mississippi, seeing the Mississippi, and in my mind, I'm thinking, well, that's the water down there, and I'm telling you, we got to Atlanta. I know this is not a part of what we're doing. We're the last one, so it don't even matter. We hang it out. And so when we got to Atlanta, right? We get to Atlanta, and before we get to Atlanta, this is even funnier. So we get to a small town in what was we at?
you said earlier.
well, no, I'm thinking about the little town we was in a little town, and the policeman pulled up, and the policeman said, "All right, guys, I can take y'all to jail, or y'all can go to the Walmart where everybody else is." So we was like, "We'll go to the Walmart." We're in a two-seater, his two-seater convertible now. So we go to the Walmart, right? And we get to the Walmart, and this white guy's riding through the lot, right? And he has a big thing in his truck on his truck, and it's full of gas. Nobody can find gas. We go to get gas, and the guy walks down to us, and he says, "Well, you'll get gas. It'll be about 9 o'clock." And he kept walking, right? And my brain said, "Wait a minute." He said 9 o'clock, and this line is like long line. So I yelled to him. I said, "Hey, 9 o'clock when?" He said 9 o'clock in the morning. That's what we was up against. So when we got to the Kmart and this guy had gas, we asked the guy. We said, "Hey, where you get the gas from?" He said, "Well, what is going on?" The white guy said, "What is going on?" I said, "Well, everybody's evacuating, blah blah." He said, "It's some gas down at this service station down the street." We was in Alabama. I believe that's what we was. We was in. We was in. What was out? We was in a bad place, right? And so I told my partner. I said, "Look," I said, "Man, I don't want to go down and get no gas." I said, "Man, we can get hung down here. You don't know what's going on." And he said, "Well, look, man, we need some gas." And I said, "Well, then pull your top down." I said, "I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get out the car and pump the gas." But I said, the first 40 steps, I believe I can catch you if somebody come out the woods and get us, right? And so we went down there. We got gas, and I was standing out there like this here.
Right.
Look at like what's next? What's next? What's next? So we got the gas, and we went back to the place, and we was telling people about the gas, but no, we two black guys, so ain't nobody believe us. So we drove on to Atlanta. We got to Atlanta, finally got a hotel room, and the lady said, "Well, we don't have the hotel room. We everything is full except for one room." We was like, "We'll take it." She said, "Well, the bathroom don't work." We was like, "Look, we've been up 24 hours. We just want to hit the bed and go to sleep." So we go to sleep. And so my mother and everybody is calling to find me. And my phone, because of the towers, I have no phone. We go look, we go in a store, and I'm standing at the counter, and there's these knives at the counter, right? And I'm thinking to myself, "Man, I need to buy me a knife. I got I gotta survive. I gotta get home, right?" And so we finally I get home, right? We get back to Durham, right? And so I go to my house, I get my car, I crank my car up, and I'm driving to my mama's house. And my mama, they are sitting in front of the TV like this. We waiting to hear. We know we gonna hear something. So I got a key to the house, right? So I open the door and walk through the door. My mom said, "I was so nervous. I was so scared." I said, "Mama," I said, "if anybody's gonna get out of New Orleans, you know it was gonna be your son." And everybody started laughing. "We glad you're home. Are you going back?" I said, "Yeah, I got to go back and get my clothes." And when I went back, they had looted my clothes. I had suits gone. I had jerseys. I had Michael jerseys, Michael Jordan's 45. I had Bernard King's 30. I'm down there having a ball. Man, it was really crazy. But in terms of the culture and the city, oh my God. Oh, look.
It's one of the best places in the United States, actually. In
It
my
really, it really is. I mean, I have nothing but great things to say about New Orleans. But if I meet a girl by the name of Katrina, I'm gonna tell her she got to go. But anyway, want to thank you for allowing me to share.
questions that are over here kind of address. Um, Somebody asked me for surviving and how to use it, whatever survival is. So your story is your brand, right?
I
Like
can't. You are really gobbled up, so I can't really hear.
I don't know.
Do it slowly. If you do it slowly, I can get it.
It wasn't happening before you.
Oh, that's all right. Okay, I'll take it.
So the story of survival is part of the brand, right? If you've survived anything, it could be part of your brand if you wanted to. but it needs to relate to what you're selling, right? If it doesn't relate to what you're selling, then it might not resonate with your audience. So absolutely use your survival as part of your brand. As far as I'm concerned, like part of my brand is like I was widowed at 33 and started a new life and discovered that I could actually have the life that I wanted to have instead of living passively. I started living actively. So that's a part of my story. And then influencers that use their platforms effectively for selling their causes, absolutely. I mean, gosh, let me see. Who can I think about that is doing that? Who's selling that? Who's selling their cause? Think about all of the activists right now. Think about all of the people who are touting diversity and inclusion. Like those people are using their influences and their platforms to create the kind of change that they want to have in the world. I'm actually doing that too. And I say on all of my pages and everything that I do, like if you support the current occupant of the White House, then you probably don't want to work with me. Like I say that to people. And I think it's important for us to do that. I think it's important for us to say that I stand for a world where we all matter and where Black people matter and Black people get that they matter. And I get that we have to know it first before the world knows it. And like, you don't get to dictate that for me. And that's part of my advocacy and part of my brand. So I think you absolutely do have to do that. And when you do that, people are more compelled to work with you. So I hope that answers your question. And please come back.
Oh, I'm coming. Well, because we were bouncing back and forth, you just took me off the screen so I could hear you. You know, and one of the things I say to people when you begin to talk about business, I always talk about tenacity. And I talk about vision first, and I talk about commitment, and those are the things that I sell all the time. If you're not committed to your vision, you're not going to get there, because so many people are committed to the money, and if you're committed to the money, you're never going to get there. And when you asked about who's doing what you're talking about, I put in the chat. I thought you was gonna see the chat, but I put in the chat Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders is doing exactly what you're talking about. He uses his story to sell his incredible leadership skills and his belief in people. And a lot of times, what happens is people don't believe. They're not gonna believe your why until if you don't believe your why. When I tell people that the reason that I do the Black Business Expo is because my grandmother said to me, she said, "You went to school on art scholarship. Okay, you went for free. I didn't have to pay a dime." And I'd like to see that happen for more kids just like you who are talented. And she said there's too many kids out here who need help. And what we can do is bring business owners together and corporations owners together, and they can pay, and you can raise, and we can raise money for the kids so that they can go to school. And
Yeah.
that's her legacy that I've been pushing forever, because even though it's her legacy, it's also my legacy because I lived it. And it's easy for me to talk to business owners and say, well, if you're not about that, don't worry about it. We're good. Hey, I'm not mad at you because you're not about my why. The people who are about your why will get you. I said earlier, Martin Luther King. People would say when he had the March on Washington, people came to see Martin Luther King. People didn't come to see Martin Luther King. 20% of those people was white. People came to hear Martin Luther King because of justice. Justice was the why everybody was standing in their audience. And when you talk about just the one sentence, Black Lives Matter, when a group of people will not even allow you to have one sentence, that says a lot for that group of people that you're dealing with. They won't even give you one. Think about it now. Out of let's just say 500-600 years, we've only asked for one sentence, and that sentence can't exist without all lives matter, with blue lives matter, with this lives matter. And then when the riots happen, who goes to the riots and tears up things in black people's communities. So when black people march for justice and they turn around and look around, they got to spend more money to get their communities back up before they can begin to spend money to make money. And see at the end, anyway, this is the black.
I do have two people. Colin Kaepernick,
Oh yeah,
Ava DuVernay.
oh yeah, both of them,
Yes.
both of them, both. And the only thing I gotta say this about Colin, I gotta say this about Colin. You know, when you start a movement, okay, it's good to start, but finish the movement.
He's still moving.
Yeah, but I, in my estimation, I think it should be just a little bit more vocal. I know he's doing things behind the scenes, and we gotta. One thing that I said about Nipsey Hussle, and people will say that it was gang related and he just got shot. I don't believe that. I would believe that if his best friend Idris, who had created a store where you had to go to the store as opposed to sit at your house and get products, I would believe it then. But they had invented the smart store, something that had never been invented. And I could be a conspiracy theorist, but I believe that that creation was a part of the problem for him because he was able to, in his music, talk clearly to the ears of a new generation who was hearing him as he was buying up South Central and telling people not to give away their land. And I think that's just me. That's just me.
And I think because of the history of the country and what's happening to the leaders in our community.
And we sometimes don't call our leaders young leaders. Tupac died at 25. Biggie died right around the same age. And at the end of the day, when you start talking about John Lewis was 23 when he stood up on the podium to talk about justice, getting his head knocked off. So it begins to look the same, even though we don't want to say it. It still looks the same. Revolution is never ran by folk like me when we get to be 60. It's always ran by young people. And what I tell the young folk, and I'm going to get out of here, but what I tell the young folk is this. My generation was taught to go to school and get a job. Okay? The civil rights movement was right there for us to continue the work. We did, I know y'all older guys gonna get mad at me for this, but we didn't do the work because our parents was our leaders and they were fearful that we would get killed, so they sent us to school. We went to school and got these degrees and got all this stuff, but while we was in school and the work that needed to be done, what happened was our kids were painted like hoodlums and painted like drug dealers and painted like criminals. And so while we was in school getting that education, we was looking at our kids through the same lens that was being painted. So when we see kids walking down the street toward us in hoodies, we get the same kind of fear that white America gets because we didn't do the work. So when Black Lives Matter came along, and it was all these kids, all of a sudden we said, well, we want to participate. Well, you didn't participate then, but now it's time to participate with your money. You get where I'm coming from?
That's exactly.
Forget all that. I want to go out there and march. I mean, you 60 some years old. Give me this here. Put that money behind those kids, because you think about it. The reason, and this is just my opinion, the reason that the march is integrated, I believe, is because if we get together as a people and come up with our own agenda, it may be the same kind of power that we were leading when we was going up the ladder in the 60s with shirts and ties and competing, and all of a sudden you burnt down all our stuff and said, we're going to just make you start over. And in our communities, when you're poor, there is no starting over. It's no, if you burn, I was driving through Durham, and there's a street called Pettigrew Street, and they have built this big high rise apartment on Pettigrew Street. And somebody asked me the day about business and what do I remember about business in Durham, and I said, well, what I'm going to tell you, 9 times out of 10, you've never heard of. You've never heard of the Biltmore Hotel in Durham. You never heard of WAFR radio station, which was an FM black radio station in Durham. You never heard of the printing company that was in Durham. There was a whole 109 businesses on Pettigrew Street that was business. I was a kid, but I lived probably 4 blocks from that. That was my playground, the movie theater that was for black folk. We didn't go across that railroad track up to Paris Street that was called Black Wall Street. We ain't go up there because guess what? We didn't go up there because everything we needed was right there on Pettigrew Street, where now they drop the jailhouse. Now they drop apartments. And you ask yourself this question: how are you going to compete when people are continually pushing you back? And the reason that I created this network is to show people that we have voices, that we can speak all over the world. And as I said to people, just like tonight, okay, you was on my Facebook, but you also was in London, you also was in Africa, and you was also, yeah, somebody gave it to me. Service printing. Whoever did it was called service printing on Pettigrew Street. Somebody old as me is out there. But 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 at the end of the day, you have gone across the water on our IBM platform. And
Absolutely.
and that is what we need to understand, that we can do this. We don't need somebody to give us the right, because I didn't have to sign no papers to be on Facebook. It's free. But everybody tried to sell me on doing Zoom, on doing WebEx, on doing this and on doing this and doing that. And I was like, but why are we paying somebody for something that we can do free? And look at us now. We've done 2 days. We've done 24 hours, 2 days in a row. We're going to do 24 hours, 5 more days in a row. We're making history right now. And what I would like for people to understand, it is not about me making history. It's about you opening your eyes and seeing the power of what's out here and participate. But I know I go on, it's 9 o'clock, but hey.
It's all about stability.
Well, again, we want to thank you for being on the show. You got Eric Kelly III, and you got the beautiful, the lovely, yes, Mia Lamont, who is giving us some great news and some great ideas. And now, mind you, give us your website and give us your contact information before you get out of here.
So the website is mia.com, and the number 919-990076. And that's my cell, so you can reach me that way.
Bring me back. Okay, that's it. That's a wrap for the night. We had a good time tonight. Good time last night. I know the mastermind group has 6 other people that's coming, 5 other people that's coming. We look forward to them, and we want to thank Jimmy Davies for the great work that he's done. Outstanding brother. He makes it happen. And every Monday night, every black does a mastermind. Don't let this mastermind be the last mastermind that you attend. Go check out Jimmy Davis and his mastermind group every Monday night, because he brings people from all over the country and they talk to people all over the country. What we do, the work is real. Participate, be a part. You got EK3 from the South Side saying goodbye until the next time.
Thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm.